Now. Oh, we're live now. Live. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. We've got Gary DeBrick here, who's just rummaging to see what feet we have. Oh no, so the DX feet are down here. There we go. There he is. There's the back of his head.
Good morning, everybody. I am here. How are we all doing?
That's Gemma's NX feet.
That's what I was. That's what I was just. I was getting like confused because they're obviously in a similar box, but
no. That's for the UX. That's the
right.
NX. I've just got to go through and make sure we've got all
do we
the
know
feet
the difference?
Gemma.
Why we're here? On this quick question.
Yeah, oh no, hang on. No, I do. It's the finish on the metal on
Fantastic.
the feet because you don't get the glare on the new ones, because that was the feedback given to you by people at home, and Juki listened.
Exactly.
I listened.
Absolutely brilliant. Yes, indeed. You got that one correct. Right, we can carry on now.
I was going to get like a... Jeez. Morning, Gary. How are you?
You know you're going to get tested this morning, did we? Absolutely not. Oh, thank you very much. Absolutely brilliant. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm all right, thank you. I'm just trying to think for Gemma where the feet are. Oh, I took the DX to Ho Chanda, the craft store, so it's... Anyway...
So I can just bring this in view. We do have
we've got a lot in there.
Attachments in there.
Yeah.
And in the key thing is we've got the...
And the reason that we are looking around for said DX is because... Nice.
So, yeah, we've got it.
Because Gary has come merrily telling us, oh, so the DX7, yeah, I've got 3 refurbs that you can have. Haha. Gary, we are the only place that you can buy refurb Jukis with a full warranty, aren't we?
You are the only person, official Juki supplier for refurb machines. Obviously, apart from our own shops, you are the only person we supply them to because of the backup. Obviously, the full 2-year warranty. Refurbs machines again, but they have literally been used. It's sort of stuff that we've travelled around with. So they may have only been used for like 2 hours maximum. But not a constant 2 hours, only bits and pieces. And
because we were saying sometimes they might have been on like a show at the craft store or somewhere like that.
That's right. They've been on the background of TV or something like that.
It's not even 2 hours,
no,
is it?
They are absolutely. They may have been on display for 2 hours, but not used for 2 hours.
No.
So yes, yeah.
So what we can do for you is take nearly £200 off, which is pretty amazing. We will have a quick skip around the DX so that you get an idea. When I was in the market for a machine, the DX was where I absolutely wanted to go, because it was within my budget. It was something that I could afford. If I sort of looked at my credit card a bit, and then pay it off. So it's one of those things that if you are taking that step up and you want that all metal working inside,
it's that heavy performance level, obviously all the DC motor, the smoothness, the box feed, the industrial setup really as such. The only thing, the difference bit is obviously with yourself, we wanted that more space. So now with a 12-inch arm, but the DX has still got an 8-inch arm. It's not a small arm.
So different strokes for different folks. The UX, which we're going to look at today, is the one that we have in our workroom that, Jane does a quilt a week. At least. And that's what this bad boy does.
And again, it's big quilts as well. It's big display. So obviously having that extra space there
makes all the difference.
Nice. That's it.
The Juki, I do smaller quilts.
Yeah.
So the DX is one that I use along with my little tabletop industrial. Those two are generally the two that I use. I do use this quite a lot when I want a treat, but generally that's in Jane's room, and she's...
But you say Jane's usually using it, and you...
Yeah. So,
you don't use your other
argy-bargy,
machines, that's right.
And it's all fine, we're all still friends. And so that's how it kind of plays out. I would say that if you wanted a fabulous machine for workshops and things like that, if you can afford a second machine... if you've got something like this, that's not going to go to a workshop. No,
it's sort of some things you want to limit carrying around, moving, etc. But also, as you say, it is a weight. It's heavy.
I wasn't thinking of anything other than the weight.
So,
I have taken that 2 shows. It's a 2-handed job.
But that's a nice large handle while we do that on there. But
which is why. So we've got all manner of fun for you today. I've also got fabrics for you, which are on a special price, special introductory price, and some are in clearance. So I want to go through that very quickly. Half Meter Heavens that will go live at midnight, so that you can preview them today, ready for midnight tonight. When they are gone, I think, on every single one of these now. Yeah, so Gary, you've got 5 minutes reprieve while I go through these fabrics. I don't know if you want a coffee or anything while I very quickly run
So was
through
that a subtle
these.
hint you'd like me to make you a coffee? Was
No,
that...
no, I'm good with coffee. I'm all good. That's what Gemma's for, in the corner with her dust. So let's have a little look at these fabrics. Let's look clearance first of all. I have got literally like 3 units of each of these, maybe 5 on one. So if you have a look at the clearance pages, these have gone into clearance. We are having a good old tidy up. These are from Clothworks. They're very, very lovely, digitally printed, really beautiful. So the detail is there. There's a theme this morning with our fabrics. They are digitally printed this morning, a lot of them. So you've got these 3 different ones. I don't know what they're called, I'm not going to lie, but just look how beautiful they are. They're all from the same collection. And they are absolutely gorgeous. And it's one of those things, right? A bolt takes up a space. Even if it's only got 1.5 meters of fabric left on it, it's still taking up space in the warehouse. So we want that space. We've got new stuff coming in, we want that space. There we go. Look at that. Gorgeous. So they are, and they're all from the same collection. So they just work a treat together. Treat yourself. Treat yourself. There we go. That's that option. And then introductory price. We have never offered you Tim Holtz fabric cut to order. We've done the odd 1/2 meter heaven with it, but Tim Holtz, fabulous guy. If you're a paper crafter, then you'll probably know him from that. But he just gets that shabby chic kind of feel. So when you get it, don't look and think we spilt our tea or coffee on it. That's the look. And it's the reason that my dining room chairs, I covered all of them, all of the pads in Tim Holtz, so they already had that distressed look. And then I odor coated the fabric and then covered them, each of the seats with that, and it's just fantastic. I love Tim Holtz. If you want that slightly more masculine feel throughout your home, you know, maybe your husband just doesn't want, or your other half doesn't want florals everywhere. It's understandable, right? Then Tim Holtz is a great one to go with. Absolutely great. So let's have a look at these. These are all on an introductory price. These should be $7.95. They are $5.99 introductory price for today only. I love this. You can have lots of fun cutting out those numbers. So if you want to really personalise, maybe you've got a birthday coming up or something like that. This one I think is rather fabulous with the stars. Again, just great. I want to do a lot of makes for my son with that one. And then, this one has got all your tailoring goodies in. So maybe you're just going to make yourself a caddy for all of your bits and bobs in your workroom. Why not? Why not? Gemma said they've put names on the end. This is sewing instructions on linen. Aren't they lovely? And this is, you've got this detail in here because it is digitally printed. So it's just a different way. So when you digitally print onto fabric, the substrate, the base cloth, if you like, has to be an incredible quality to take the detail. The detail on these is just gorgeous. And you can mix and match through these. This one is diamonds and charcoal. Again, another really lovely, strong kind of masculine feel on those. So they are rather lovely. Let's pop those there. And again, like I say, this is the first time we've ever offered Tim Holtz cut to order. They've always been in 1/2 meter heavens. So let's have a little look at these ones, or in kits, you know. I did a huge quilt with some of these. Here we go. So, how about this? This is stained damask, and I just love this one. It's so gorgeous. It's got that detailing, and that's just the detail that you get with digital fabric, digitally printed fabric. It's just a whole different world, isn't it? And then this one is Spellbound in orange. Really lovely, rich, deep tone then. This one is really fun. This is Undertaker. I mean, this is, you could pop away for little gift bags or something, trick or treat bags for Halloween. But it's all that yesteryear thing. And then this. Again, if you want to take all the little letters out and use those, then you can. This is Halloween and multi. There we go. So they're kind of your Halloweeny ones there, apart from maybe the bottom one. That one's not. But these could all be sort of Halloween based. Should you wish, it's up to you. I'll pop those to one side just together. So if we're gonna stick over here, ooh, now these ones are rather fab too. Now remember, these are only on an introductory price for today only. So we have got here, this is parchment typography. There we go. So you've got all your lettering. Look at that. Just love this stuff. When I found out, as a paper crafter, I always loved Tim Holtz. And then when I found out that he did fabrics, oh, look at this! It's aeroplanes! Oh my goodness, my granddad would have absolutely loved this. And again, this one is model aeroplanes on parchment. Just beautiful. If you want fabrics to go with it, planes to go with it, the latte is beautiful with these. But look at all the detailing in here. The how-to construction sheet, just brilliant, just brilliant. And then this one is subway signs in charcoal. So maybe you've got someone who loves to go travelling, then this is also a fab one as well. And then here, this one is, what's this one called? Tailored. We can fit short and stout, tall and slim and extra large men in any style. Amazing. Not a lot you can say to that. Men's fine dress shirts. Isn't that fab? I just love these. I think they're so much fun. So that is the next lot. And then the final ones to look at for you. Then we'll have a quick look at half meter heavens and then we'll get Gary back in. As it is really all about Gary today, for sure. So this is multiplication tables. Oh, I might do Freddie a book bag out of this one. That's good fun, isn't it? It's got that real yesteryear vibe to it. Love it. Love it, love it. And then this one, oh, this was really, really popular. This is planks in natural. Why you have a little look at that? I keep thinking it's a bit dark in here today. I realise that half the lights aren't on. Does that make any difference? There you go. I can work out why it's a bit dark. There we go. That's planks in natural. You can actually see it now. There's a bonus. And then this one, oh, this is Expedition. I just, wow. You're going to get bored of me saying I love it because I do all of these. I mixed through some of our Cafe wovens with this and made Freddie a bag, really gorgeous bag. And it's just fab. Just is fabulous. And then this one here is your butterflies in parchment, and this is the one that we did the wristlet kits with the cork, but it just looks fab. And if you want to mix and match that through with the dark coloured sewable paper, looks phenomenal. Looks absolutely phenomenal. Check out the website, put in sewable paper and you'll find what on earth I am talking about. So they are your fabrics that are on special offer today. They're intro because we've never ever had Tim Holtz cut to order before, and then after today the price will go up. And then let's just take a very quick look at the half metre heavens. So for those of you that are new and going, what is this? What is this? What is happening? Half metre heavens are half a metre of a designer fabric with half a metre of plain, matched perfectly. They go live at midnight tonight on the website, which is natashamakes.com, and that is where you will find them. So we have got, there will be end of lines or whatever it is that we've got. Here we go. Here are our donkeys, and we've got donkeys here with hot tomato, and I've got a handful. I think I've got like 5 of one of these, and that is that. And then, so they're the donkeys, and I think they are just fabulous and very spring-like. But yeah, I've got 6 of those, 5 of the other, and then they're done. I've only got 1 of these. I don't know how it got missed off, but this is an Art Gallery fabric one, so it feels more like, well, their slogan is "Feel the difference," isn't it? So it feels more like, what's the word I want? What kind of cotton? What's the word I want?
Mercerised?
No, other sort.
I'm throwing you a word.
Yeah, give me another word. Come on.
Subsidised?
No! Oh, what's the word I want? It's completely gone. Completely gone. The slightly fine cotton. Lawn! Cotton lawn. Thank you, Gary. I like to play Guess the Words.
Got the word Marmalette in her head the other day and couldn't get rid of it.
Couldn't know. Once it's in there, you can forget it. We have got a few of these kicking about. They're K Facet Collective. It is a Philip Jacob ones. It is your Luscious in blue, and we've put Royal with it there just to pull those blues. A treat, an absolute treat. I'm going to speed through these because Gary is here and I don't want to waste his time at all. We have got Dream in blue. Now this is with, that one. That's with a motor. That's on a special, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Beautiful. And I've got 2 of those. That's it. Then that's that. Done. And then this is Snow Letter with Bluebells. And we've matched that. There was just a softness about it that just really worked. We love that very much.
Just forgot I've got some stuff in the van I just want to grab.
There you go. Beautiful. And then, I don't know how we didn't spot. We had 4 of these left, but somehow they just didn't get loaded with the elephants.
These were popular.
They were so popular. Well, that was it. I was having a rummage through at the weekend. I was like, why have I got 4 of these sat on the shelf? And what happened? But they weren't matched with that, so they didn't go anywhere. And then this is new. I love this very much. This is a Scala Tropical. Now, I found this. This is a Macawa. Yeah, so this is not normal plains. This is a Macawa. We don't have a colour anywhere like that at all. But
Spectrum, isn't it?
It's on the Spectrum. It's one of their Spectrum plains, but it just went so beautifully with it. This is an end of line one. They're not having that colour back. So it's super special. Super duper special. And then I've also got it with, check this out, a linen texture as well. That's a bit special too. Because, Jem, do you know what I really like? I like an acidy green with a navy. Yeah. And that's a quilt. I was going to say it's a quilt done. Obviously, you'd have to actually like stitch something. You know, do a bit of that. Yeah, cut it up, sew it back together. All of that. Tim Holtz. Yeah, I don't think that needs any. We can just bow, and I just love that. That's probably one of my favourite Tim Holtz's. Maybe, possibly. I don't know. I don't want to be drawn into that. Right, this is the very last of the Tula Pink with Duck Egg, because it's that same soft colour that you've got going on with that. Beautiful. I'm whizzing through these, Gary, as fast as I can.
Gary's
very
like Challenge Annika today. He's been all over the place.
Listen,
on and off.
you carry on longer, then
Challenge
it reminds me to get everything else in place.
But just without the lycra. This is Tula Pink True Colours Hexi Rainbow with salmon. Look at that. I mean, don't let us stop you. If you want to whip up a bit of lycra, then
We're never against that.
who are we?
Never against
Who are we?
All about the comfort here, aren't we?
All about the comfort. And then, I love this one. Oh!
You want some lycra?
You're going to be sorry with that. I mean, not me personally, I'm going to be honest.
That into Borat's mankini.
Well, it's the ideal colour for that.
Wow, there's probably enough actually as well.
Yeah. I promise I won't display. I won't wear it. I promise.
No mankinis, please. We do draw the line at that, Gary. It's a family show. Jane Fonda used to, dance around in something similar. She did love a bit of that, didn't she? Tudor Pink, little stinker.
Burner there we have.
With magenta. Look, if I swing this around, look, you can see where the magenta comes in.
Beautiful.
But it's got all the colours, all the rainbow going on there. Oh, now this is the last of the cactus flower contrast. I've popped it with Hawaiian because it would have been rude not to. See how it suddenly pops all those blues? Ooh, I love this one. Excuse me. And then this is Shaggy. And so Gemma, it's fair to say I tried every colour under the sun with this.
You really did.
And if I was going to do like 2 or 3 colours, it would have been absolutely fine. But I couldn't decide. So I've gone with the teal background because then every colour pops.
Yeah.
Gary's nodding. So yeah, I see what you've done there. But if you did want to go with orange, it wouldn't be wrong. I mean, just saying. Possibly not that. If I'm going to be honest, possibly not that one. And then last one to show you. God, I've never folded fabric so fast in my life. This one is Shaggy again. This is Shaggy Black, and we've popped. Look at that! Just look at. Is that not one of the best designs out there? With orange. Yep. And again, make no apologies for that. It's just fabulous. There were so many colours we could have matched it with. We went with orange. So they are your half metre heavens. You want them, don't you, Gemma? So you can photograph them. Well, I mean, I know that you really want all of them.
Thank you.
And the other things to show you are, whoops, we've got 38 cottons. And we've got them in some rather lovely variegated things. They're brand new in, just so that you've got a look. Gemma did put them in order. Yellows and reds, greens and blues, pinks and purples. I took them out of order instantly because I knocked them over. And so you're
1, 2, 3 on the back. If you needed any checking.
1, 3. There you go. 1, 2, 3. I mean, I just used my eyes. Yeah, yellows and reds, greens and blues, pinks and purples. Sometimes that works. No, not always. There you go. But they're really rather lovely. And there we go. Oh no, hang on. What's my thing? There we are. Oh, we're back again. I'm going to say hello to everyone while Gary gets himself comfortable. I can turn my volume down as well so I don't get myself in stereo all over the shop. So we've whizzed through all the fabrics. I'm going to take my little iPad.
Beautiful necklace, Tash.
Oh, thank you. So, Lowe. I promised I'd wear it. This arrived yesterday from Lowe. And I'm still a bit overwhelmed. It's very, very beautiful. And I love it very much.
It's amazing.
It is amazing. Go on, Gary. Get in there, son.
Right. Hello, everybody.
Good morning.
Natasha.
Yes.
Your lovely UX8.
I know, and I heart it very, very much. When you say mine, I think it's fair to say it is shared.
It's shared. Just say you probably actually use it less than anybody. So
yeah, do you know what?
I
have just let there it is in all its glory. It's gone into Jane's room a bit now.
But that's the nice thing. These machines like to be used.
Do we like to use them?
Absolutely. And the problem is, once you use it, you don't want to use anything else.
No.
And that's the nice thing about it.
No. And the beauty is, we don't have to use anything else here.
So, and that's the great thing. And that's the thing is, whether you want to do quilting, whether you want to do patchwork, whether we're doing bag making, soft furnishing, we know the machine is strong enough, it's good enough, it's flexible enough to cope with that.
Here.
Yeah.
We do the lot here.
And that's the great thing. It's you're not just a one trick. You're not just a quilter. You're not just a soft furnisher. You do everything on there. So it's having that right machine, the right tool for the job as such.
Absolutely.
To say.
Now, I know that Gemma's here as well because she has got the NX7.
The excitement squeak,
Yes.
absolutely great.
And the thing with the NX7 is, because we have both on the website,
Yes.
the NX7 has fundamentally the same mechanics,
Yes.
but this has more gadgety.
This just takes it to the
Things.
next level of play.
Yeah.
Really, in between the two machines, they are both the class we call the Kiri series on there.
So Kiri means beautiful.
Kiri is
doesn't it?
beautiful,
Yes.
and I like to think, obviously, sort of the eye of the beholder and all that sort of thing. To me, the beauty is within the stitch quality, because that's as we prove whether we're doing quilting, patchwork, the soft furnishings, and hopefully with these new threads you've got, we have a little play with those as well, because
Yeah.
again, a lot of people, when they look at a machine, they're looking at different fabrics they're putting through.
Yes.
9 times out of 10, when I mention threads, oh, hang on a minute, thread, what do you mean, different threads and things like that? But obviously the more variety of sewing we do, the more variety of threads we hopefully can use as well.
Yeah.
So,
And I hear a lot from people, oh no, my machine doesn't like. My
Yes.
machine doesn't like.
or my machine will only use
Yeah, yeah.
This is
And you
it,
go,
and
really?
And it is,
Really?
yeah. In one way, I do know there are some qualities of machines which will really, really restrict the type of thread you can use,
Yeah.
the flexibility of the threads as well. But as we sort of are going to be playing, I've got everything from 60 thickness thread, so a nice fine thread. So for shirt making, that really light, as you're saying, for lawns and things
Yeah,
like that,
yeah, yeah.
that really lightweight. Because I have seen it several times as well, where you match your fabric and you match your colour to your fabric, but if you
not
don't
the-
match the thickness,
Yeah.
and you're then putting on a very, like a sort of a 40 or 50 thickness weight thread onto a lawn, it's really quite heavy, and obviously
Yeah.
there's more chance of it puckering, standing out. It's just not as nice of a stitch quality
Yeah.
on the finer fabric. So, and then on the decorative side, if you are then using a 50 thickness thread, when on some of the decorative stitches, obviously you don't get quite the frilling on
Yeah.
there, so you don't get that smoothness. So then go into a 40 or go into a 30, which say a lot of machines won't allow you to use 30 because it is too heavy. But there is certainly within the tension systems on here which just look after itself, so we can do the creative sewing and things like that.
And that's what those are. So those are the 30s behind you.
That's it, yeah.
And we got those in because I was very aware that people wanted to. We did a Liberty quilt. Hang on, let me just pass it to you here. And if you can just hold that out. To do the blanket stitch around there, we
Yeah.
thought a variegated thicker thread would be gorgeous.
Absolutely. Something like that, you make it stand out a little bit, give it a bit of variety. But then the nice thing about this, and certainly within a Pacific stitch Juki has,
Yeah.
is the hand effect quilt stitch.
Beautiful.
So a lot of machines will offer a variation of that, but the way the Juki does it, it is absolutely unique. So it gives you more or less a true trapunto stitch or
Yes.
sashiko
Yes,
stitch.
amazing.
Various different names on that
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
and
yeah.
using the 30 thickness threads, I can actually put it onto the bobbin and use an invisible thread on the top, which will give me that finish. But that's hopefully one of the stitches we will get to.
Amazing,
To see on
amazing,
that. So,
amazing.
yeah, but no, that will make that stand out tremendously.
Do you know what it really
will do.
I'm excited to use it. Very excited.
There we
Thank
go.
you. Thank you. All right. So let's just have a quick hello to everyone, Gary. See who's here with us. We've got Linda and Alison and Julia, who says morning, peeps, and Sue. Question for Gary. I sent lots of detail to Natasha. The top thread on my NX7 keeps breaking so much so I can't use the machine. Who I do a contact to get help? And are there any suggestions that you can make?
Yeah, morning, Sue. There's a couple of different variations of why. Usually, number one, which I'm hoping may have been suggested already, is to change the needle.
Yeah.
Blunt needle, the wrong size needle, if you're forcing threads through, obviously it's going to shear and it is just going to constantly snap the threads. So first of all, a needle is a definitely check. Also, make sure they're definitely the right bobbin, because then we have seen it time and time
Yeah.
again where people have got bobbins from a previous machine laying around, or they think bobbins are universal.
Oh.
And to be fair, there's no such thing when it comes to sewing industry as universal. So that does make a bit of a difference that way. Definitely, if taking the plate off and having a clean to see if there's any fluff caught, threads caught, which can affect that as well. So that's a natural process I will do. So make sure the bobbin's right, change the needle, clean the fluff out.
Yeah.
One of the big things as well, which a lot of people have not recognised, is on the top of the threading of the machine, you do get different size spool caps.
Right.
So I don't know if we can see which is the best camera to see these ones on.
There you go.
So on there, so you got sort of coming with the machine, you've got your 3 different spool caps on here, and the large one is naturally actually on the machine itself. So a lot of people stick to the large spool cap.
Just because it's there.
Just literally because it's there.
Yeah.
So, and then the problem is with that is I just grab a couple of different types of threads to sort of show you on there. So one of them is like the 1,000-metre cones. You have then got sort of the Gutermann reels with the flat edges, and obviously then sort of the bigger bolt, the 1,000-metre reels as well. So the idea is when you've got the spool cap on is you want it to hold the thread against the machine.
Yeah.
But what you don't want is anywhere the thread can either get caught, and what you don't want is the thread changing direction as well.
Right.
So that large reel is not good for that reel. It's not good for that reel. It's absolutely ideal for that. So the rule of thumb is the end of the reel is the same size as the spool cap.
Oh.
Absolutely ideal.
Perfect.
And the reason I say that is because if we use a smaller reel with a larger spool cap, if you look at that, the first thing the thread's got to do is change direction before it comes that way.
Yes.
But what you want thread to do is naturally reel forward, because as soon as it has to change directions, you're adding tension to it. So, and then using the larger spool cap as well, there is also, if we look at the back of it, you can see there's places for the thread to get caught.
Yeah.
And a lot of time people haven't recognised, and they're just sewing. And as soon as machines that snap threads, automatically we all do it, and we're looking at the needle, the bobbin, etc. that way, not necessarily looking at the top part of the machine. And it could be that because the thread's not, your reel's not moved, but what you may not have realised, especially with some cones like this reel, where you've actually got then the cones or the reel sticking out from either side.
Yeah.
So even with this one, I use a smaller reel, which then butts up against. If you can see, obviously that part of the cone there, you have then got that gap. So if a thread gets caught around here, and then before, so then the thread's going to get caught, and it's naturally then going to have to go that way and then this way. So that's more of a strain, and there's more chance that the thread is then not going to reel off. So it can affect the tensions, and it can get caught. So it's one of those things I very rarely cover unless I'm speaking to someone on the phone.
Yeah, you wouldn't even think to cover it.
We don't usually cover the spool caps, but
Just say something?
Please,
Lovely Jane.
absolutely.
I'm watching you on my phone because I love watching you.
Wonderful, thank you.
Can you just move up a little bit on the board because it's captioned
And
the captions.
Oh, is it?
Okay,
Oh,
right,
sorry.
absolutely no problem there at all.
Maybe other people are watching with captions on and they probably can't actually see.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
I'm
haven't got
hiding it
captions
all
on.
behind the captions on there. Thank you. No, brilliant on there.
Thank
So
you, Jane.
no worries there.
That is very true. So,
Yeah.
which one with that small end one, which one would you go with?
So what I personally say is, if with something like this, if the thread doesn't match up or flat to the end of the reel, then I would actually not use a spool cap at all.
Oh, really?
On there. And then the spool caps, the idea is a lot of time it is when you've got lighter reels, so the thread can move around and things like that. But once you've got a bit of a weight or proper reel, once it's on here and the thread is reeling off, there should be no resistance at all to pull that reel. So there would be absolutely nowhere for the thread to get trapped within the machine.
Oh, perfect.
So it's...
Give that a go.
It's one of those things, you talk to different people, they will say, oh no, I've got to use a spool. Then you sort of say, why? If the thread's not moving, don't worry.
Don't need it, yeah.
And then, but the key thing is whatever size reel you've got, match the spool cap to the size. Because you don't want it to change directions, and obviously this one for your 100-metre reel, Gutermanns, etc. that way, that one is absolutely ideal for that. On there. So
brilliant.
that again, I'm not saying that is for Sue's going to sort Sue's problem.
It's one of those things
but
without
something
actually
to
seeing
look at.
it. You know, all you can do is give how 30 something years of experience of
Oh,
what
this is it.
sometimes is. So the most likely suspects.
Yeah.
Anne says, morning everyone.
So
I love
also, can I
fabrics.
just
Yes.
say just one other thing
for it.
to do as well on the backup service on there. Obviously, we do have the helplines,
Yeah.
so you can certainly phone through to the helpline, speak to someone there. If you've already done that and we've just tried a few different things like we've suggested here,
Yeah.
what the next step is, I would always say, just phone our workshop. They will then give you a number to phone, so we can then visually talk to you.
Oh, amazing.
Like a WhatsApp,
Yeah,
FaceTime
yeah,
is.
FaceTime,
I just blank then. Obviously, I've only had 2 coffees, so it's like So we have the capabilities of doing that, because we can be describing something, talking to something, and if our descriptions are not quite meeting, it could be one little thing that's not done. Where if we can physically see you, so give the workshop a ring. Speak to them if you haven't already, but if you have, give them another ring and say, right, I'd like to FaceTime. They will give you a number. You can then phone this number. They will phone you back on this FaceTime. Obviously, hopefully you've got the technology at home to do that.
Yeah.
And then be in front of your machine. They will talk to you. They will ask you to point
That's
different things. They will
incredible
look at things.
service.
We want you to sew. We want you to keep sewing.
Yeah,
Last
yeah,
thing
yeah.
we want is you to be frustrated with a sewing machine, not necessarily just our machine. We just want to keep the world sewing on that. And if we can do everything we can to help and to assist, and
Perfect.
say we can all do sort of things over the phone, but it could be something just so simple where we can physically see it. Oh, just do that. I'll try that. Yeah.
And that's what you're getting when you buy one of the Juki machines. You get all of this backup, which is just fabulous. We've got people still loving all of the Tim Holtz fabrics. Sylv says that she loves the wood grain and the maps. And Jackie says, morning ladies and gent. Lots of
Good
and
morning.
gent. And then Rebecca's here, Lo's here. She says, Pandora don't do horses. Lo made me my horse pillion,
Yeah.
which I just...
That's why I've had to stand away. You know, my allergy to horses, but.
Oh, yeah, no, you're safe with this one.
No, it's
You are
beautiful.
absolutely
It
safe
is
with this one.
absolutely beautiful. It really is.
Kelly's here, Karen's here, Danny's here, Michelle's here, Vicky's here. Guys, get your questions in for Gary. He's here. Let's make the most of him. Patricia's here, and Brenda's here, and Jill's here, and Deborah's here, and Sheila. Good morning, and Lynn, and Paulette, and Christina. Hello, hello. Let's see if I have got... I used a dab of glue of blue tack instead of a spool cap.
Absolutely. Yep.
Really?
Absolutely. On the back, obviously you've got your reel on here, so your thread's going to reel off this way. And if you find, especially like at the moment where you've got such a low amount of thread on there, again, it's unfortunate. Your thread has got to change direction before it comes again, because to get over that hump. So there's more resistance. So naturally, if you've not got a spool cap, it will pull it forward. On the back of the reel, obviously not the side or anything else, when you put it obviously onto your spool holder, bit of blue tack on the back, push it in, and as you're pushing it, squidge it. It will just stick it to the back of the machine. Obviously, blue tack won't damage your machine. You don't want it in the front mechanism at all, obviously. And it would then exactly the same. Just stops your reel from moving. So no, fantastic. Yeah, absolutely, we'd recommend that.
Sil says, does it matter if you use a smaller spool cap?
No, not at all.
So it just doesn't. It just can't be bigger.
Go smaller, not bigger. Again, what you don't want is any sort of change of direction to threads. Any restrictions was going to let the threads, which are a larger cap will. A smaller cap will just hold it in place, and it won't affect the thread at all. So no problem.
Carol has done what I do,
and
she has mislaid her DX7 instruction book. How do I get a replacement? Carol, I can tell you this one because I've printed it off many times. But if you just type in Juki DX7 manual on a Google search,
basically you can go up and it will allow you to print one off. What I would also say though, because necessarily the cost of printing cartridges, ink, give us a buzz. We have them in stock. We can send you a complete an original manual. Probably maybe cheaper than what it would cost to print out, because it's a big manual. It's not like it's 10 pages. It's a book.
It's like 97 pages.
So,
Ask me how I know. La 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 la. But Carol, if you haven't got that sorted by the time that you come over and see us, I'll just give you one of my copies. That's no problem at all. Pat says, Juki backup, second to none.
Thank you, Pat.
Yes.
Again, it's so important for us, not just to supply a machine, and obviously with our level of machines, we are supplying to sewers.
Yes.
People don't buy these machines to sit them in the cupboard.
No.
And it's so important to keep people sewing. I know I'm going to repeat myself, but keeping people sewing.
Yeah, no,
on
it
there.
is.
And there's
Absolutely
nothing more
is.
frustrating where, especially when you put an investment into, whether it's a DX7 investment, there's still a large amount of money to invest.
Oh, cool.
And what you don't want it doing is sitting in the box. And there's two ways of looking at that. You could just be a bit intimidated, a bit frightened to start off with. So this is why we're here, to assist you, to help you get started. But when you are started and you are going, we're here to keep you going. As such
and
to say
that's
as well.
so true. I mean, when I bought my overlocker, that was my first juki that I actually owned myself.
Yeah.
And I bought it while I was on maternity leave. I did have an overlocker before that, and it didn't have the whoosh system, and it wasn't a juki, and I hated it, and it sat in a box for 8 months.
And that's it. Yeah.
My overlocker, my juki one, always out, because it's always been used. And Debbie says, hello everyone, sorry I'm a bit late, love watching Gary. It was him doing the demonstration on the NX7 that leads me to end up buying it.
Wonderful, thank you Debbie, brilliant, and I hope you're enjoying.
Lowe's question is, Gary, what is the wind velocity of an unladen African sparrow?
2 point... Is that's the Monty Python joke, isn't it? Yeah, I was just thinking, I know that. Well, I should know the answer to that because it's Monty Python.
You should. You should. You see, you test me, we'll test you.
Brilliant.
Cass says, I love my UX8, but what is the best way of cleaning fluff out from the front and bobbin mechanisms? I'm always scared of taking things apart. Kath, that's a really good question.
Absolutely brilliant. Maintenance on any machine we do find important, and also going back to like the questions about threads breaking, needles breaking, where if you've got lots of threads caught, jammed up underneath, and which is naturally going to happen because you're a sewer, you use fabric, and also
fluff occurs.
The
we
more
like
interest.
to leave our fluff for you to demonstrate.
Absolutely. Well, I'd be disappointed
like
if I didn't come back and it wasn't like that. I'd be so disappointed.
Right.
But even because we even have it where we say, oh, have you cleaned out the underneath? Oh, my machine is brand new, or I've only had it like a month or something like that. You can use your machine for the first time, and if it's the wrong sort of, or not the wrong sort of fabric, sorry, if it's a fluffy type of fabric or a piece of thread,
fleeces,
it can get
like
caught.
That.
So if it's something you actually train your sort of thoughts to think, well, okay, I've been sewing a lot for a week.
Yeah.
For how quick and easy it is, which I'm going to show you in a minute, it's worth doing because it will prolong the life. It will save you money in the future because you're not then thinking, okay, I'm going to need to have it serviced, which is obviously a costing that way. Where if you look after something yourself, service it or semi-service it yourself, the rest of the machines, and it's not just the UX, it's the NX, it's the DX, this is all lubrication free. So it's not like I have to take it apart or anything like that. So the main thing for yourselves at home is, say, the sewing area, and then keeping it fluff clean, keeping the threads clean, and there's other reasons for doing that as well. And it's these things we do see over the years, especially machines with thread trimmers. Obviously, if you've got a piece of thread just caught underneath and it's got caught within the blades, because the blades will move like a sort of just fine like a cutter. So if you've got a spare piece of fluff or thread which you haven't realised and it's caught in the side, obviously if that moves that blade, obviously I'm going to over exaggerate the size of that, but if it moves it up sort of 0.5 millimetre, that's the thickness of your thread. So therefore, when it cuts, that piece of thread is obviously going to then push it across your main piece of thread, and that's where sometimes it won't always then cut. So you clean that fluff out, the blades are there. So again, it's one of those little things. If you find your thread trimmer is activating and it's not necessarily cutting the threads, it's not necessarily blunt, it's not necessarily damaged, it could just be a piece of fluff or piece of thread caught in there. So give it a clean.
That's just it, you know. It is very, very true. And Eileen says, Gary, is there any way to have the thread stand vertical rather than horizontal?
Buy a vertical one. So what we have now done.
So would say what?
Exactly. What's this? So to be fair, there's a few different ways we can do this.
Okay.
We can supply basically a vertical thread stand which pushes onto the bobbin winder.
Oh, okay.
Very easy, available. A lot of machines, we actually sell them individually because of things like twin needle, triple needle and things like that. So you can have it so it just pushes on top of the machine. There is also the second one which has a location hold on here as well. Yeah. So again, it just...
does that come with it?
That again is a lay down one.
Oh, that's
so
it.
That is a sort of horizontal, not a vertical one, that one. But what, again, being juki, knowing what sewers want, what we
I know
have
it
done
does. Yeah.
on the back of the machine, I'm just going to turn this round then for the camera that way, is these two holes in the back here, our location, we actually sell an external spool holder, a single
Say what?
and a double, like you would have on the back of your overlocker.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way to describe it.
Yeah.
With a telescopic arm.
Amazing.
So all you need to do is basically screw it onto the back of the machine.
Like on the back of my table.
Like exactly, that's to be fair, if I can lift that one up there, it will virtually then turn into.
If I do it that way. Switch.
I'll just say
There
I
you
can,
go.
on there. So then you have got then your thread holder, which will then come out the back of your machine.
Yeah.
So then you're taking, so absolutely right, because if you have this on your machine, you've never got to worry about a spool cap again.
Yeah.
Because everything's coming straight
Yeah.
off. Twin needle, triple needle, obviously cones.
And also you can use the big cones, so you say,
Exactly
right,
it.
that's why you'd want it.
Also,
Cool.
personally, just on a note, if you're using things like metallic threads, invisible nylon threads,
Yeah.
anything we can get sticky, anything
Yeah.
will get a bit puffy, the best possible way of it feeding off is on a sort of vertical spool cap. On a sort of vertical spool stand, sorry.
Yeah.
On that, instead, obviously, if it lays down, especially with metallic threads, obviously, it can catch
Yeah.
itself on there.
And can you get replacement ones? Because one of my boxes of samples might have fallen on my telescopic one and bent it slightly in the car.
Because the TL is the semi-industrial, it's obviously all built inside
Right.
on there. Very, very easy to replace.
Okay,
so,
excellent.
Yep,
Good.
no problems.
Just checking.
So,
You know when they said, is there anything else that you need? Because Gary's coming up. I've meant to say that. Yeah.
oh well,
yeah.
next time there's another excuse to come up. Not that I need the excuses, obviously.
Claire said, really, blue tack isn't a bad idea. She's shocked. I think she started a little trend there. Silver always downloads and saves her manuals. It's easier to search for something than in paper copy. Yes. And Janice says, I've got the Juki HZL F400.
F400, wonderful.
She says, I love it. Had it quite a few years now. When can I afford it? When I can afford it, I'll upgrade. But this is the thing, isn't it? And we spoke about this before, that Jukis are machines for life.
That's the nice thing we try to put over that way.
And you're not
it's-
going to stop manufacturing the parts or anything like that.
Well, with like the F400, that could be now up to, because it's the 400, so it won't be quite as old as the 15 years like the 300. But when we developed, it was called the Exceed series.
Yeah.
So they did the 300, the 350, up to the 600. The basis of all those machines were exactly the same. So it didn't matter, again, what model you had within that range, you know that interior, that sewing quality and that performance was all exactly the same. So if you started with the smaller one, you're just having less stitches, etc. that way. But that machine, this is a little bit of back knowledge and a bit of painful back knowledge, and that's what we have to put up with at Juki UK. That machine took 10 years to develop.
10 years?
Waited 10 years
Good grief.
for the Exceed machine. When we first started Juki UK, and that's sort of 25, 30 years ago, the range of domestic machines was quite small until we started really getting involved with, right, no, we want to get more behind this. So that's when I think there was like 16 countries, we all got together and just said, right, we can do something about this now. We know the industrial technology, they know, they made some fantastic machines, and a lot of them were only available in their home country, so
Yeah.
Japan mainly on there. So we started developing sort of machines for what we wanted within the European market, because back over sort of a lot of the Asian markets, they didn't do quilting, they didn't do free motion and things like that. So they didn't really gear their machines. The tension systems weren't right. A lot of things weren't quite right for the manual, because they wanted it more automatic. So we sort of stepped up and said, right, this, that, and the other. And so we changed fairly much their whole sewing concept underneath the shell to fit the European market. So going back to the Exceed series, it took 10 years of development to actually get through. But that development in the Exceed series is exactly the same as it is in the DX series.
Oh,
So
really?
15,
so don't
20 years
update
later,
to the DX because you've already got it.
It's got some similar features extra, like the needle plate, straight stitches, like that. But the running gear, the strength, it's an 8-inch arm still. That's why we don't change our machines. There's a lot of companies out there, the mass merchandise companies as such to say, every 6 months there's a new model come out, and they've either changed the colour of it, changed a new bit of plastic on it and called it something different, because that's their mental thought of mass merchandise. They need to keep it going, they need to keep it right, and they need to sell a lot of units on there. Us at Juki, we build something and we build it to last.
Yeah.
And this is why 10, 15 years later, we've got people sort of coming up and praising that machine still.
Yeah.
And in a way, you would never have to change that machine because of the quality performance.
Yeah.
It's only when you want some more fun to play with.
So that's just it. So really, Janice's next level up would be the NX or the UX.
That's where I certainly would say, moving to a DX, you're getting an upgrade, as in a few extra features, but you're not getting...
But not enough to warrant...
No, that complete change of model. So where the sewing series, then with the DX, then you've got a flick for the needle plate, which is fantastic, the straight stitch, the zigzag, which you don't get on the Exceed. But the main thing, the body sizing the same, so it's an 8-inch arm, all of that. Where then going to the UX and the NX, then you go into the 12-inch arm, built-in dual feeding system, completely interchangeable, to making it to a straight stitch machine. So yeah,
it is phenomenal.
And hopefully, as we've realised as well, the nice thing about that is you've had many years of use on one machine, so it's not like you've had to change it in 4 or 5 years time and you think, hang on a minute, I spent £1,000 on this and I've got to get rid of it already because it's on that. So you can still be perfectly happy. So to me, if you are going to then change it, why not change it?
Go big. Yeah, go big, absolutely. And Julia says, I bought the Whoosh overlocker, but the needle threader is slightly out of line. Any advice on how to rectify? I can answer that one. Just get a new needle threader.
Absolutely.
They are consumables. They bend,
yeah,
as we discussed this morning, because I needed a new one. It only takes for you to knock it a little bit out of alignment. It's really difficult to get it back in place.
Yeah.
You can just ring Juki and get them to
because
make a
of
new one.
all needle threaders, obviously the hook has got to be so fine to go. It's only got to catch the side of the needle once if the needle's not in the right height, so it can catch it that way. So it is a very easy, certainly on the MO, it's just a single screw, you take it off, we supply you a new part, it just literally fits on. It's a minute job, so very easy to do.
Christine says that her new UX8, the main connector keeps falling out. Is it a loose connection?
As in the power lead?
As in the power lead?
Then, ooh, okay. It's just probably not, I don't know, say it just needs to be probably pushed in hard enough.
Yeah. I think sometimes we're quite delicate with our machines. We think we're going to break them.
Especially when you've got your new toy, and you just think it's a big investment on there as well. You think, oh, I don't want to treat it like this, and because it's like different things. Certainly, just sort of stepping back a little bit when we're saying about the spool stands, the external. If you did have one of those, the top lid on here, which is a lot of people when I do this, oh no, I can't do that on my machine. Literally, get it, pull it off.
Karen, what are you doing?
So this is obviously your stitch card.
Let's go close up on that.
So I don't actually need that connected to the machine at all. So I can have,
because otherwise I'll lose it, Gary.
I can have that sitting next to me. But what I would say, if you've got the spool stand on, then when the threads run off, then I would take this off, because then there's nothing for it to get caught on.
Nothing in the way. Perfect.
So it just keeps it clean. And then obviously when you're finished, it really is as simple as just locating a hole on one side and then pop it in.
Lowe's brain is just slightly blown by the triple needle comment earlier.
Oh right, yes.
Is that actually, when on earth would you triple needle anything?
A lot of people now are doing it where you've got like cover stitch.
Yeah.
And if you look at a lot of cover stitch is 2 needles, certainly on t-shirt and things like that. But if you look at things like fleeces or decorative threads, where you want a nice chain effect, or if you're doing outside seaming, then triple needle. So it gives you
is that a thing that we can get for this?
Basically, as long as you've got sort of a 7mm zigzag on here, and you've got the capabilities of running the thread through. Yes, absolutely. Most machines will take a triple needle. Other things like wing needles, twin wing needles, they've always been around. Triple needles are not new. They've been on the market, many years on there. But it's people just either a bit wary of it or just never heard of it because maybe their local shop has not sold them at all because they're not quite sure what to do with them.
Well, that's just it, isn't it? And I think unless you're a seamstress and you come from a line of seamstresses that have used that, then Yeah, I've never heard of a triple needle.
No.
Twin?
Twin
Absolutely,
needle,
yes.
twin wing needles
Triple,
and that. The thing is with a triple needle as well, it will only do straight stitch.
Well, yeah, it can't do anything else.
Because of the width, but obviously
Yeah.
with the twin needle, you can get it to do
Zigzag.
zigzags, creative sewing and things like that.
Amazing. Ali B says she has the AG320. Occasionally, the bobbin has a whizzy spell with a bit of noise.
So AG
She says,
20.
I have a. Oh no, she
Oh,
has
G,
a
G320.
G320.
Sorry,
Sorry, yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
A,
It's all the A and the G are right next to each other. There's no space. So
sorry,
I misread it.
AG320. Sorry.
She's got she's got a G320.
Yeah.
That makes more sense. I'm going to suggest. Are you actually using
The right bobbin.
the right bobbin?
Yeah, that's 9 times out of 10. That's if it's doing that, it's usually the bobbin is in either one of the older, slightly curved. It's not quite deep enough, so you're getting that vibration and spinning in there. The only other thing I would say to that, if you are getting a slight vibration on that, take the plate out, take the bobbin case out, clean it underneath. Because what I am going to show you on here as well, and it's the same as on all machines, when people take the plate off and clean out, sometimes they don't think they can, they don't take the bobbin case out.
No, I would be terrified to do that.
And exactly,
Yeah.
but these are designed to do that. And the
Okay.
important thing is, if you've got fluff or something underneath the bobbin case,
Yeah.
it's never going to, and that's what causes that slight vibration on
Okay.
there. So yeah, we will show you that as well.
Get cleaning, girl. Get cleaning.
Yeah,
Myra
that's it.
says I gently use a pipe cleaner. Did mine last night. Always amazes me how much fluff I get after using the machine brushes. And Eileen says, do the feet from the NX7 fit the DX7?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
So again, with our sewing system, and it's something we battled with for a long time with Juki, back and forth of them wanting to put upgrades on the machine and making it do bigger embroidery. We all just sat there and said, no, is we only 7mm for the zigzag is maximum.
Yeah.
Box feed only goes forwards and back. So as soon as you start putting 9mm, 12mm zigzags on it, as soon as you start having your feed system go sideways, diagonal, you
You're
take
just asking for
everything
trouble.
away from normal performance on
Yeah.
there. So whether you have the G series, whether you have the DX series, whether you have then the UX, the NX, all 7mm clip-on feet, so absolutely no problem at all.
Hooray!
Yeah.
And Debbie says, will you be at Festival of Quilts this year? She hopes so.
Oh yes,
Ah,
indeed.
there
Yes,
we
yeah.
go. Perfect.
Yeah, we're still kicking into the show season already, and even though it's not until August, I am full on Festival of
Yay,
Quilt mode,
full on
sorting it all
festivaling.
out and everything
Perfect.
at the moment. So.
And Janice says, can she get a new needle threader for the Exceed range?
Again, Exceed range is that clip on and off, very, very simple.
So will
on
that be
there.
the same as the DX range?
Same as the DX,
Okay,
yeah.
there you
And
go.
again, the needle threader has not changed on there. It's that system where, yes, obviously, as we said, all needle threaders have a slight inherent weakness if they're not used correctly.
Yeah.
But it's not like now, even on the Exceed range, could be over 10 years. All parts are available. We look after you, no problem.
And Sue
there.
says, what's a wing needle? And when would you use it?
So heirloom.
Is it like your wingman?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yes,
Just gives you a help and hand, makes it look
next
good.
to my single. Yeah, very much so. It's well, do you know, sort of with the heirloom stitching, and a lot of machines will have heirloom patterns built into it, and it's done mainly on nicely even weave fabrics, linens, cottons, etc. That way, you can't really do it on stretch or fabrics that will close themselves back up again.
Yeah.
So the idea. Imagine a needle with wings, basically. If I
hang on,
do
wings. Yeah.
the camera on there. So a needle usually looks like that. So
Yeah.
you just got your straight point. But imagine the needle then being flattened. So technically, when you look at it, it looks like that.
What?
So when it sews, obviously I'm going to turn it like that. So it sews up and down. So because it's got wings, it's actually forcing the fabric apart.
Oh.
So when it stitches in between, it stitches back in the spot. So it's then made a hole.
Oh,
So like an
okay.
heirloom sewing.
Yeah.
So as you're sewing, you've got a stitch with like a decorative, like a ladder stitch or something
Yeah.
like that. But it's then actually made holes as it goes. So it's like a lace work, heirloom sewing, eyelets, anything like that. It's great fun.
Oh, wow.
They're
Oh,
good,
gonna
good
give that
fun
a
to
go.
play around with. So, and then with the twin needle, you can have it, or a twin wing needle. Both needles are not wing needles. The twin wing is one's a straight needle, one's a wing needle. So it
Right.
gives you that seam and heirloom at the same time.
Oh, that's rather fabulous.
There's some fun bits out there. Yeah.
These are the things. And Helen says she has got the NX7. She's got the overlocker. She now needs a portable one for workshops.
Yeah.
She says, I have to get rid of one first, but not my NX7. You can't get rid of your NX7. And also your overlock.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
you see, Helen. Okay, Helen, so my advice, if I could suggest it, because I know that her husband started sewing.
Right, oh, wonderful. Yeah.
So maybe you could convince Steve that what he would really like is one of our refurb DX7s, so he's saving nearly 200 quid.
Yeah.
And then he could use that day to day, and then you can borrow it when you need a portable
And you need
one.
to go to classrooms, absolutely. Because I do find when people have got a lovely machine at home on there, and then they go out and buy a classroom machine, and they realise how bad a machine can be because they've invested.
True.
What they think again is an amount of money, but it's sort of £300-400, which a lot of people invest into that. You're never going to get a performance from like you would have at home. So you then sometimes, even though you go in the classroom, some people, if you are just taking a small machine, you know you're going to be doing one or two jobs, maybe not.
Yeah.
But if you know you're going to do projects in the classroom, why do you want an inferior machine? Why do you want an inferior stitch? Why do you want to make life harder for yourself?
No.
And then, as literally, you've got somebody at home else to use it as well. But also, if you've got the same running system of a machine, all your bobbins, or your needles, or your feet, or your attachments, it doesn't matter what you have with you, it's all interchangeable for what you've got.
That makes such sense.
So yeah, it's like having a second of anything.
Yeah.
It's maybe have a smaller version, but don't have a cheaper version.
No.
That's again, if you're not happy using it.
Well, you're just not going to use it, and it's going to be an absolute waste of money, and that's not what we want. So, Gary, show us what this machine
right.
do.
So, we had from out of box experience when I was here last time on there, and we had a little play with the screen as well, going through the basic settings.
And this
on
is the
here.
main difference, isn't it, between the NX7 and the UX8?
Yes, it is. Yeah. So, with the package, the stitches, everything that way, the NX to the UX, the sewing system, the size, everything. Say they haven't altered that at all. This is why there's not huge amounts of difference then obviously within the price as well, is because the main system is all there.
Yeah.
So the screen, obviously it's a lot bigger screen, it's a touch screen, it's a colour screen, so it gives you all that detail. So if I actually then change the dials, i.e. the stitch length is underneath here, you can see all the graphics will move on the screen as well.
Yeah.
So and everything else you need to go with it. So you can program straight away without going into other menus or other screens. I can have it so it cuts the thread on and off. I can have it so it ties it on and off, forwards and back and on the spot. So it's all there in front of me. And that's the convenience with having the UX screen. It just gives you the same sort of information as what the NX would give you, but instead of then having to find it within different screens, it is just there in front of you.
Which Carol might like as she tries to get replacement manual, is that the manual is inbuilt into the machine.
And that is another great thing about
even
here.
Better.
So we can go into, you've got the different support setting on here. You can go in, you've got the operation manual literally built into it, where I can then go through page by page. And obviously something you can't do on an actual paper instruction manual. If I get to an area that I want a closer look at, then obviously I can go into it, touch screen, and then
I can
enlarge it on screen as well.
Yeah.
And then obviously I can then move it around. Obviously, as we all know, as we get a bit older, we need a little bit of help with our eyes. Not all of us, but some of us do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm completely up with that one, because I had to do a show at the Castle with this, and being able, and I forgot my glasses
on there, so you could
being
go
able
in,
to do that was
increase
perfect.
it all, and that will help there. So yeah, you've got all the instruction manual built into it. Again, you can go onto YouTube, you can download instructional videos as well.
Amazing.
As well, so you can watch it all on there. It's absolutely brilliant.
And also, what was I going to say? A beautiful thing about this? Oh, I don't know. I've forgotten what I was going to say.
It will pop up later.
Yeah, no, well, sorry. Completely forgot. Completely threw myself. Yeah, come then. What's next?
On there. So we went through the sort of the settings of the machine. So this is where you actually, when we unboxed the machine as well, we went in and tailor-made the machine to how we want it. So i.e. just sampling again, going into changing the lighting system on the screen. So again, depending on what room we're working in to how we want that, we can change the lighting actually on the machine as well. So we can change the brightness. We can also change the colour. So we set all of this up last time.
Like you can with the TV screen, it's exactly the same, isn't
because
it? It's
obviously in here you've got beautiful white lights, but if I'm...
Well, we have no room to turn all the lights on.
No, really on there.
That helps, right? I was thinking, why is it looking
Exactly,
murky in here? What's going on?
But obviously if I move that near a window, I'm going to have more of a warmer light because it's a sunlight on there. So again, you can just adjust it. Or if you are taking it to class, obviously, and things like that, using it different. So again, it's tailor-making that machine to how you actually want it to perform, which say we did on the setup last time, but obviously that can be a constant change, so it's no problem. Talking about twin needle, we have then got the twin needle setting in here.
You have.
So we have it automatically reduces the width down on the patterns as well.
Oh, I know what I was going to say.
Yep.
For me, unusually for me, I do actually use the manuals on these.
Yes.
A lot, because they're actually really informative, just about general sewing as well.
Yeah, it doesn't just give you an operation, it does give you a lot of information on there as well. Yeah.
What size needle to use and when, what cotton to use with it, and it's so, I've learned so much just by reading the manual.
Again, this is the thing with Juki are a sewing manufacturer.
Yeah.
Again, that is their business 100%. They don't make office furniture, they don't make printers, they don't make other stuff.
No, none of that.
Are a sewing machine manufacturer, and obviously coming from industry with all they know. Once you're in industry, basically anybody sitting at those machines should really know what they're doing, but they know within a domestic market
it's a bit more hit and miss.
You get complete beginners in there. You also, but the thing is, we also then get people from industry coming into the domestic machine, and the problem is they may say, oh, I've been sewing for 50 years, but all they've been doing is straight stitch all day long and things like that. So assistance, and obviously probably then the same types of fabrics and things like that. So we were, like most machines, we were offered, we can actually buy these machines without instruction manuals, because a lot of companies now are supplying machines without manuals.
What?
But we, so you have to go and download it, look online, etc. Everything to cut costs.
Right.
So at Juki, absolutely 100% every one of our machines have got proper manuals with, because so important. And also it's got reference points, but where are you going to write your notes, where it can suggest something. I think, right, I know when I do this I use this setting, so you've got a good manual to write your notes in as well.
It's really, really important. But then you know, when you forget it or you've forgotten your glasses, you've got it on the screen, which is all there as well.
And also if you are travelling around and say you've left it somewhere and forgot to say, you know it is all there for you. Or the other way, which I do sort of put over as well, is another generation thing, where give me a book anytime, but obviously with a lot of youngsters with iPads and things like that, sorry, book, what's a book, what is that? Give them that to play with, so they'd be more intrigued to play with this machine because of the technology that way is what they might be more interested in. So if that encourages them to sew, then why not? Fantastic. Absolutely.
Perfect. All right, what else do we need to know?
So it's then going into like the fine tuning and things like that. So what we did was some basic sewing last time. We went in and sort of set the machine up. But what we didn't do is a lot of the sewing and setting it up with the walking foot, the straight stitch side and things like that. So it's just upping that performance level and changing your type of sewing. And obviously using some different threads and playing around with as well. So that's the nice thing about this. So what we're going to do, first of all, is we're just going to thread the machine up. So drop-in bobbin system, again that just flicks up, pops in, it's all arrowed and numbered, so it's very simple, easy to follow. So number 1, number 2, number 3, cuts off. The nice thing with this as well is cutters everywhere, so as soon as it cuts off and I've got tails in my hand, I know the bobbin is set, it's all done, so no problems there. And then the cover goes on like so. So with the actual threading itself, let's find some thread. We've got another reel.
We've got entire reels down the bottom.
Right down there, that's wonderful.
We've got all sorts there.
Just have something a bit brighter on here, so which is nice, so it stands out. Let's go for a nice mauve. So Again, with something like this, obviously going back to what we were saying earlier with the reels, because I've got the end on here, so what I don't want is a spool cap on the edge, because it will obviously leave a gap.
Yeah.
So a lot of people sort of say, then why don't you put that on the back of the machine? So this is then at the back. The problem is, if your thread does become slightly loose and it gets caught at the back, it's going to trap it as well. So I don't want it to be trapped at the front or back. So what I would actually do on this one is say, let's go back, and one of the probably better ways is the flat side again goes to the back of the machine.
Yeah.
I know with this weight of reel, this is not going to move an inch, and obviously because you're using a quality thread, the way it's wound on the reel, I know there's going to be no resistance at all when the thread pulls off.
Yeah, that's great.
So it's, and obviously some cheaper threads and cheaper reels, there is more resistance there. So that's just another sort of looking at the thread you're using. So always the flat side to the back. I personally won't use anything else on there as well.
Right.
But sort of just go back to what was mentioned earlier. If you want a bit of blue tack, stick a bit of blue tack and just squidge it in there. So
amazing.
And you know it's definitely not going to move. So yeah, not a problem there. Threading the machine is very conventional to 95% of the machines out there. It doesn't really change. It may sort of be arrowed slightly different and numbered different, but that doesn't change at all. And a needle threader. And it's not just with juki, it's actually needle threaders right across the board. Your needle must always be in its highest position. And even if you've moved a hand wheel, because a lot of times when people have come from older machines to newer machines, they do things and they're not even recognising they're doing, because we all naturally ingrain ourselves
you get
to
into
do
patterns,
things.
don't you? Yeah.
And with electronic computerised machines, personally I say, never touch the balance wheel. You should never need to touch the balance wheel.
Do you know what I discovered the other day? Because the only time that I would ever use the balance wheel would be to hand crank over a zip or something like that.
Yeah.
But then I suddenly realised, you know, the needle up, needle down.
That's right. You
if
have a
I just
creeping
put
stitch.
my finger on that and hold it, creeping stitch. I didn't know.
Absolutely. So
I don't know how I didn't know that, but I didn't know.
No, brilliant. But again, it's finding. There's more playtime of finding these different things
and
on
that's
there.
on the DX as
and
well.
on the DX as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have that. The difference on the DX, it's set at a speed. I can actually go in and change the speed and make that go faster or slower on here as well.
Of course you can.
So if it's a feature I use a lot, then I could speed that feature up. So
did we set the speed, while I just remember, to go on the backward stitch? Can we set the speed?
yeah,
for
we
the
can do
backward
that.
stitch?
Yeah.
I think it's on quite fast at the moment.
Okay, so I'll go in and have a look.
That down
Absolutely
a little bit?
can
Because,
indeed. Yeah. So
I might have shot
this
off.
is the thing. I think it's a lot of
the other
time I
day.
set the features to probably how I wanted it, not to how you wanted it. So
I think I probably did say that I wanted it fast, but just not as fast.
yeah, on that. So no, we can go in and all that. Obviously, we've got.
How would we do that?
medium,
Should we do that
level.
now?
Yep. So I'm going to
I'll
thread the
remember.
needle.
Oh, yeah.
So needle's in higher position. So lever on the side, down, through, let go, loop
Done.
just automatically pulls through. Job done. So very simple needle thread, or threading the machine full stop on there, which is really nice. So I've got a nice bucket of fabric I brought with me this time.
Oh yeah, you have got the lot, haven't you?
Again, got some nice, again, like the lycra obviously, or is it, which we always have, don't leave home without that, but I've got some nice velvet, I've got some real stuff that people look at and think, my machine generally doesn't like that, or when I sew it, why has it waved, why is it puckered, why is it that? And this is hopefully the lesson we can do this time, is we get around that. We'll show you the machines are capable of coping with all those awkward fabrics perfectly on there.
Brilliant.
So
I'm just being told off by Betty, who says I'm naughty, making her buy more fabric, but she couldn't resist the Halloween fabric.
Brilliant.
Do you know what? I'm a fabric enabler. We've discussed this. We've discussed this a lot, and that's absolutely fine. I'm just seeing if Australian April. Hi, Australian April. Sorry, off topic,
April.
but I have the same juki overlocker that Natasha has. Was wondering if the MO 2000 MPV has an extension table.
No.
No. Okay.
No. There are companies out there, and it's something that we have been asked, and we have.
She's in Australia, if
Right.
it helps. Just
Looked in there. Well, juki is juki, so it doesn't matter sort of what country. Again, they don't make, unlike again some other companies where they will specifically make certain models for certain countries and things like that. Juki being juki, they make one range of machines, and it's applied to everybody. So on that, tables is one of those things we have looked into. But there are companies out there you can actually buy an external table with adjustable height legs. So you can put it and fit it round your overlocker.
Oh, perfect.
And it comes with a perfect finish.
Oh, there you go.
Offhand, I'm not sure the names, and certainly I wouldn't know the Australian
but
ones
have a
on
little,
there.
have a little
Have a little
search
look
on
online.
Tinternet.
External tables, yeah.
Debbie says, do I still have my NX7? No, I don't. I've got the UX8 and Gemma now has
So
my
Gemma's,
NX7.
this is it, absolutely.
She is fist pumping the air as we speak. She's very, very excited about that. So, you know, we keep them in the family. It's not going anywhere.
Well, this is the thing, again, is what we're talking about. Like, we've got some demonstration machines, and I know I've only got those. It's because of obviously travelling around doing the TV bits and pieces like that.
Yeah.
But very, very rarely, and we do keep an eye, because again, we sort on that for what comes up secondhand, obviously private sales through certain sales, internet places and things like that. And it is such a rarity you see sort of secondhand jukis come up, is because if you've got a juki and you want to change your juki, I'm finding 9 times out of 10 you've got somebody next to you, or a friend or same class or something like that, I want that machine.
Yeah.
But I've got to say, probably 70% of people who have brought the NX UX have all kept their DX or Exceeds or G series, is because they don't want to let them go. For whatever reason. I'm saying, oh, it's a backup just in case. Well, did that one ever go wrong? Oh, no, it didn't. So, well, it's a personal thing then. But so many people, I say, have automatically someone to pass it on to. So,
no, but it's true. It's really, really, really true. Helen's just asked Steve if she can have the DX7, and he says no, and him have it, and then she borrow it when she goes off to workshops and stuff, and he says no, he doesn't lend his tools to amateurs. How rude! How rude!
Oh dear.
Anne would like to know the throat size of the Juki. Which one, Anne? Which one?
So
I'm going to assume this one.
The DX is 8-inch, 20 centimetres. The UX and NX is 12-inch, 30 centimetres.
There you go.
But they both have high clearance as well.
They do, yeah.
A lot of people would look sort of the A to B side, but what I always say, look at the C section.
Yeah.
It's because most of the time you're going to be rolling something up. You've got some of the big computer machines, they've actually, because there's so much screen and everything here, they've lowered it all down. And this is why we specifically kept this quite narrow here.
Yeah.
Because that space there is more important than we find on anything.
And so then all your gubbins are on the end.
And exactly it.
You can tell I've got all the technical stuff.
Absolutely.
All your gubbins is on the end.
And the nice thing also with that, it's where with some machines that have tried that, when I lift this up, it's balanced. It is perfectly balanced on there, so it's not like it's a bulky weight from one end to another. I know you don't carry it around huge amounts, but even when it's on airlift, electronic lifts for tables, you don't want it unbalanced. You want it to be smooth as possible. So
I do lift mine a lot.
Yeah.
Even if it's just between here and Jane's room.
Yeah. Yeah, or you say, because you've got other machines as well, sometimes you might need to swap it over, or somebody's borrowed it and you haven't realised.
They do that, Gary, they do that. I'm forced to share. I'm forced to share. It's very sad. Very sad. So there you go, Anne. If you're going for the DX, and guys, just remember, we have 3 DX7 refurbs. This is the very first time that we've ever managed to get our hands on the DX7.
It's very rarely the DXs come up on that, and say they are not really X-Dem ones, they are sort of X-Display ones as such, and with they do come with the extension tables, the walking feet, the quilting feet, the free motion feet, in the ditch feet, plus all your utility feet. It is the whole package that they are coming with. So
amazing, amazing, and you're saving nearly £200, which is not to be sneezed at.
No, not for a brand new machine.
No, absolutely. And it is, and if that brings it into an affordable range for you, or if it you can squeeze it on a credit card.
Fabric. £200 worth of fabric.
That's a lot of fabric. That's a lot of fabric. It is a lot of fabric, but it's one of those things. And somebody asked me the other day, why don't I do the payment plans? And it's like, because there are other places that can offer it better than I can, like PayPal. A lot of people use PayPal and spread the payments through PayPal. And I can't compete with that.
Well, with those third companies finance places now, I remember, obviously, going back a few years and things like that, the interest rates were stupidly high.
Yeah.
But the problem is we do find with a lot of companies we can deal with, because the amount of finance we would do is, believe it or not, if you're not sticking through several £million worth of finance, a lot of finance companies don't want to deal with you.
No.
And if they do deal with you, your interest rates or what they charge you is so high, so you couldn't
As a
physically
small
do
business,
it.
I can't.
No, it costs you so much money to do.
And also, there's part of me that I want people to be able to afford what they can afford. I don't want anybody getting unnecessarily,
and also you don't have to take the restrictions where, because being a smaller person, you would have a lot more restrictions put on you of sort of time level and what finance you could then offer your end user, where with PayPal, basically it's unlimited to what finance they can offer in lots of different ways because of the size they are.
Or, you know, if you have room on a credit card that you can then pay off in even smaller increments to make it more affordable for you, then it's just one of those. It's finding the way that suits you. I am not a financial advisor, but yeah, we just try and make things as affordable as we can.
That's it. We all have our own ways of dealing with it. So
absolutely. Right, what are you going to show us then, Gary?
Right. So first of all, what I'm going to do on here, if I go back into settings, you have stitch speed. So I go into stitch speed. It will give me the overall speed of the machine. But also then it's got my reverse speeds on here as well.
Am I on
so you're on high at the moment. So do we put it into medium?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So again, that will take that straight down again. Again, not complicated. It's there in front of you to do.
Perfect.
So which is nice that way. So, right, what we're going to do is, first of all, we're just going to do some basic sewing.
Okay.
Just to go through, and just because I know I do a lot with normal straight stitch, but as we know, sort of 90% of our sewing is generally straight stitch only. So I've got it set up as the utility machine, so it's got the zigzag needle plate on it, the normal feed foot, etc. that way. So just at the moment, this is just a piece of everyday calico, just a medium weight calico, so nothing special to think about on that. So I'm just going to pop that under. So one thing we are very proud of as well, even though we do have like the electronic needle up, needle down, the electronic foot lift, things like that, this is all connected to a manual setting as well. So if the lever at the back where you would have in the normal machine, if I can put that up, I can put that down, exactly the same as you would do. So what I'm trying to say there, we haven't allowed electronics to take over the machine.
Right.
All we've got is electronics to assist the mechanical side.
Yes.
Is because having the sewing system fully computerized, to me, is one of the worst things people try putting into a sewing machine.
Really?
Because
why is that?
what they say, oh, it's automatic. But the problem is, what you don't want your machine to do is change foot pressure and start going as it's going up and down seams. Because it's got to grip one bit, slip the next bit, grip another bit. And also, and there is no machine sensor out there can tell you what the surface of your fabric is.
Do you know, that's so true?
A fleece surface will be completely different to a cotton surface.
Yeah.
So how is your machine supposed to know what to do on there?
By magic, clearly.
Exactly, and it's physically impossible for it to know that.
Yeah.
So a good sewing system, whether it's then mechanical tensions, which we've connected to then just to an override, so we can alter the tension with electronics, but it's still a mechanical setting inside the machine as well.
Okay.
So, and even there is no such thing as automatic tensions. Even though machines state auto on a machine, there is no machine again can judge what thickness of thread you're putting through it.
Right.
So therefore, anything with auto wants a little bit of a false selling point.
Okay.
What there is good tension and bad tension.
Right.
And a good tension system will stay even, doesn't matter what you put through it.
Right, okay.
So a lot of people think you change the tension for the type of fabric you're using.
Yes. No.
It's not the fabric you're putting for your tension, it's thread that goes for the tension.
Yes.
So an even stitch should be even whether I'm going through 2 layers of cotton or 10 layers of denim. Is because it's the thread that I'm tensioning, not the fabric.
Amazing.
So a lot of people sort of think, oh, I need to
When you say it,
change
it's like, that's so obvious.
It does seem that sort of common sense, but you get some machines that will not give you an even tension because either they're just made badly or vibration causes it to change, things like that. So when people get a different fabric and it's not stitching correctly, they automatically think, oh, hang on a minute, it doesn't like the fabric. But it's not always the fabric.
Okay.
It could be then, as we talked earlier, about the thread the fabric to needle match.
Yeah.
So it's all those little bits of fine tuning. If you want true performance out of any sewing machine, you just sort of give yourself a couple of minutes to say, right, have I got a new needle? Have I got a right size needle?
Yes.
Am I using a 30 thickness thread on a lawn when I should be using a 60 thickness thread on a lawn and things like that? Because we've all done it. We think, oh, that colour matches, pick it up and put it in, and you've realised the thread you've just picked up because you've started sewing with it is not a good thread or it's way too thick.
Totally
so
true.
We do find is obviously using a good quality thread, using the fabric, and it shouldn't matter then, as long as I've got the machine sort of threaded correctly and a new needle. As again, I use size 80 stroke 12 is imperial metric numbering on absolutely everything. So it doesn't matter where I'm going. The only time I would change that if I'm specifically using thick threads or something like that.
Yeah.
But I've got at the moment in here 2 pieces of calico, and I'm just going to start sewing. It's got my auto tie on, so it's stitched forwards and back, then it will sew my seam. Let's give me a little bit of speed on there. Again, you've got that fully adjustable speed control. So even though I can set it on the machine to a specific fast mill, I've still got complete override on the machine as well, because I can unplug the machine and use it as a start-stop. So I don't actually have to use the foot control.
Yeah, which is the little green button down the bottom.
Which is my green button on there. So you have got a complete override, which is nice. When I get to the end, I can just finish it off. If I want it just to tie off, I can just press the reverse button, stitch forwards, back, stop, cuts the threads for me, lifts the needle out. I haven't got the foot lift on here at the moment, but I could have programmed the foot lift so it did that automatically for me as well. But I've got the manual control there. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to sit that there. So that is your calico.
Yep.
Then I'm not going to change anything at all on here. I'm going to then get some acetate satin. So
some what?
Acetate satin. So
what the heck
nice thing
is
about
acetate
that, lovely
satin?
shiny stuff. So it slips, it moves. Obviously, using the wrong needle in here will pucker it as well, or blunt needle. So again, it's a very awkward fabric to do. Yeah. So I'm just going to fold down and say like we were going to do a side seam. I'm not going to adjust again. I'm not going to adjust anything at all.
Go on, Gary.
I'm just going to put the foot down on there.
Get your foot down.
And away we go. Again, that auto tie on. Give me that seam.
And you're just making sure that it...
I'm just keeping it straight on there. Stop, tie off, finish, forwards, back. And this time I put the foot lift on so it lifts it again. So I'm going to sit that then next to the fabric there. And then what I will do is let's take... Oh, go on, let's have a bit of vinyl. Why not?
Oh, go on, Gary. Treat yourself to a bit of vinyl.
Again, a complete contrast of fabric again. So, this is proper upholstery vinyl. Cotton backed, things like that. So, obviously, woven, slippery woven, non-woven plastic. And I'm going to pop that under there again. I'm not going to change anything else, and I'm just going to sew. Have you noticed as also, it's one of those things from layer to layer, the machine hasn't changed the sound.
Right.
Because you get some machines where it's certainly going through thicker fabric, you get that slight banging, slight murmuring. And then this one, absolutely no difference. I'm just going to sew down the seam again to the end. I'll finish it off, press the button once. Again, forwards, back, tie off, finish, needle out, foot up.
Amazing.
So just to start off with these 3 fabrics on here. So first of all, that's the front. As you can see, it's an even stitch on all 3 of them there. Let's get the...
Hang on. Let's get this overhead situation going on. Right.
Yep.
Yes.
So again, vinyl.
Yep.
Satin.
Yep.
On there, and then calico.
Yep.
So that's the top of it. If I now turn all of those over, 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
So as you can see, the stitch quality on the back has not changed at all.
Amazing.
So we've got completely different types of fabric, different types of thread as well, top and bottom. So we've got the 40, I'm presuming that's a 40 on there, and I think I've actually got a 50 underneath as well.
Yeah.
So
have we?
Yep. It's the bobbin we had. So we're using that slightly finer thread underneath, which I do like on a bobbin, is because if you look, you lose the stitch quite nicely into your fabric. If you put it over the edge, you can't actually see the stitch on here.
I know, yeah, for demonstration purposes, whoops.
Which is whoops, but also...
You can hold it, there you go, you can hold it in front of the machine and we'll get that on a close-up.
It just shows you then the difference, what a quality stitch should be on there. But if I then turn that around where I have then used the lilac, as you can see, it's a perfectly straight stitch, it's balanced tension, it's on there as well, because it's an even tension system.
Yeah.
So, and then if I open like for the satin, because obviously the important thing is the seam on the inside. I'm back on the machine again. So let's pull that down. So as you can see, there is no puckering, there is no pulling.
Phenomenal.
And obviously that is really slippery fabric that is on there. So good like bridal. And then we go up to the vinyl. So again, it was the back of the vinyl. So again, perfectly even stitch. Again, you can't see that one in there. But if I turn it over where we then got the lilac,
amazing. Then
as you can see, absolutely no difference with tension systems at all. Absolutely perfect. So that is what a tension system. So we get the stories of, oh, I've got to fiddle with this, I've got to play with that. 9 times out of 10, unless you're specifically setting it up to do a real heavyweight job or using completely different threads and that, a machine should look after you.
Yes.
If you've got to sit there and fiddle and play and adjust, there's something obviously not right on there.
Yeah.
And certainly if it comes to a juki, we're sitting at home with your jukis and you start to think, why is it looping stitches? Why is it doing this? 9 times out of 10, do not adjust your tensions. Do not touch tensions. It's usually something else causing that.
Carol would like to know if there's a knee lifter with this machine.
Yes, there is. Yeah,
there is with this one and with the DX as well.
That's it. That just plugs into the front on there, which gives you that override. Sorry, I can't demonstrate it on this side of the table.
No. It's fine. It's fine.
But the DX again, complete with it, automatic with it as well.
Absolutely. Lo says that she uses a specific bobbin thread, i.e. embroidery bobbin thread, nearly all the time. Is that wrong?
It's weaker, but also there's lots of different types of bobbin thread.
Right.
If you can get the very fine ones, so you can go down. You can actually go down to about a 90 thickness bobbin thread. Very fine.
Right.
Would never use that for normal sewing.
Right. Because
it's purely for backing. It's 90 thread is for holding the top thread down. Yeah. And that's there's no strength or anything to it, and that will automatically turn your tension around. Because of how fine it is, you've effectively taken off a lot of tension. So your top stitch will be pulled down.
Right,
If you're going to use that thread, you usually want it for embroidery, so you want it to look good on top. Yeah. Underneath doesn't matter as much. Yeah. So that's why I would use that. If you're using a 60, say, weight bobbin thread, which most bobbin threads are, then again it's a slightly weaker thread because bobbin thread is designed to be cheaper because it's not to be seen. So sometimes it can be slightly fluffy, sometimes it can be slightly weaker on there as well. But if you want something with a bit of strength for seaming, then I wouldn't use it. For decorative, for if you want to use it even for quilting and things like that, why not? Absolutely. Okay. So, and especially if you're going to be using a 30 thickness on top, I usually would not recommend 30 top and bottom. I would say use your 30 on top, use a 60 underneath.
She says, and she does apologise for swearing, she says that she uses the brother bobbin thread.
No, well, you swear you like, but to be fair, it is one of the better ones.
There you go, we'll let you get away with it.
Yeah,
it's all right. Lo makes jewellery, and I said Pandora yesterday, so you're allowed to swear back today, Lo. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Touché.
Well, what I would say, there's certain manufacturers out there. It may have their name stamped on the reel, but it's not who makes it.
Okay.
It's what they've gone out and found what's suitable for their machine. Because brother, I would mention the name. Obviously, they make a lot of embroidery machines. Yeah. So bobbin thread to them is more important. Yeah. On there. So again, I mentioned 1960. That's the company I was actually really talking about. I sell a lot of it. It's nice threads and it's smooth.
So this is the other thing. If we touch on this, so a lot of companies will source things for their machines, even parts. And I know that a point that you made last time, which really sat with me, was that during the pandemic when things were short and maybe manufacturing been shut down for a while, other machine companies were having to source inferior parts for their machines.
Oh, very much so.
But Juki manufactured themselves.
They manufacture 90% of their own parts.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously there's the odd bits and pieces like every company does have to buy in from other places or specialists, but the idea obviously with ourselves, obviously actual building and manufacturing did come to virtually a stop because of what was happening, but it wasn't because we couldn't supply parts. Because literally the factories closed down, and it's the fact that it's their own factories making their own parts that closed down.
And so you can guarantee the quality of them. That's the point
right,
that I'm really
we've noticed
really stuck
it
with me.
Sort of literally going through where we've known certain companies to get their machines running, they've then found bobbin cases from different places and things like that, and it's just, you can tell a big difference, even just the sound of the machine, because it's not been engineered correctly for everything else in it. So if you are certainly now, if you buy a new machine and you get it out of the box, it really doesn't matter what price point it's at. When it's brand new, it should be very smooth. And we've had a couple lately where we've come from manufacturers, and obviously because of the company we do test machines thoroughly before they go out.
And also it's just worth saying that you work for Franklin's Juki and they service all manner of machines.
Oh, we sell all makes and models within our retail branches. So it's not just Juki sort of that. It's just obviously I've been with them for a long time. But the great thing about that, I do get to play with literally all manufacturers on there. And there's big names out there which people don't realise don't even make machines full stop. Right. It's purely just badges on the machine. So I'd always say we have been offered machines on there. Put a glass of water, please. Sorry, that'd be great. Thank you. I did sort of say on there as well. Sign language.
My cup of tea has just sidled in.
That's what makes it lovely.
Do you want a coffee?
Water would be brilliant.
Right.
Yeah, thank you. And then we know then there's, because of what's happened, even though they don't make their own machines and they usually have a certain level to go with their name, because of certain things, they've gone off and just brought other machines. And Juki did offer, to be fair, I'm going to say it, Juki offered us some other machines as well, and we refused them. It's because they were not a Juki. We won't buy it just because it's a price. Because if it's not their reputation, or it's going to damage their reputation. And you have it where you can get a manufacturer who are making a retailer machine at £100–150, and also they're retailing a £10,000 machine as well. But that end user has thought they've brought into the same company, but that machine is made in a completely different country to what that machine is. They're just mass merchants one end just to keep a turnover. So where Juki, our level starts high, but you're getting a true
And this
Juki.
is why. So when I started Natasha Makes, I'd worked in the industry for some years.
We worked for a few years together on that,
and it was one of those things. Everyone said to me, "Why are you just backing Juki? Why do you only sell Juki? Why don't you sell other people?" It's these reasons, and it's because I know that they can be serviced well, that it's consistent quality, and that the parts are always going to be available.
Thank you.
And that's the core for me.
Yeah, and also we like dealing, obviously we like yourselves as well, is where you are dedicated to your end user, like we're dedicated. Ours is about the end user. If the end users stop buying, if the end users then start saying, "Oh, I bought a Juki and it's thank you very much, and it's really bad," or "I've got problems with this or problems with that," sorry, go on, women, go on. It's
discreetly trying to creep out and walking into an entire cupboard.
I totally thought I got away with it.
No, we were going to move the camera there as well, but no, we didn't.
Judged my wit.
Excellent. No, we tried to keep that serious. It wasn't going to happen. Brilliant. So, and also because of that, obviously we know we can control. Where if some companies as well, if they go and source parts then from a third company, once everything's over, in a few years' time, if you suddenly need a replacement parts for your machine, they're saying,
"Where are you going to find it?"
We don't deal with them anymore, so and things like that.
So you're kind of future-proofing yourself when you buy a Juki, and that's really important.
And because if you buy a Juki on there, it's a machine that you buy and have for many, many years. So the backup service there is, say, like we were saying earlier about sort of the G series, the Exceed series, and things like that. These machines, or not the G series, sorry, but certainly the Exceeds, are over 12 years old now. So, and I know I can get all support, backup, features,
and this is the lovely thing
when
we do shows like this. Like Leslie's just messaging. She said, "I buy from Franklin's. They are a fantastic company, and I have juki machines which are amazing. You are not telling fibs about them. No,
Wonderful.
we don't. And this is the thing. It's because of the type of shows that we do.
Yes, we do retail shows. We're seen by the end user.
And also the shows that we do here at Natasha Makes, we get to know, and a lot of you have become friends. I mean, gosh, over the last 2 years, I've spoken more to most of you than a lot of my family, because I see, they're on Messenger or whatever, 3 times a week. So I would feel awful if I didn't.
Well, it's your reputation.
Well, exactly.
To be fair, you've come to us, and if you'd have come to us and then suddenly you're getting grief, or we've not lived up to our reputation of what we put forward, or the machines, every day you're getting phone calls from end users saying, "I've got a problem here. Why is it doing it?" You wouldn't deal with us. No. And it works both ways. If you wasn't there to assist your customers, obviously they love you to bits, and obviously you can just tell.
Well, we love them.
Even that, it's not about sales. It's about fun. It's the rapport between and the laugh and everything else. And that's what
Gemma
it should
walking
be.
into furniture.
And Gemma walking into furniture. To keep
We
us
have the comedy
amused.
aspect. Yeah. Leslie also has a question. She said, using top stitch thread, I do seem to have problems with looping. Any advice?
Yep. Use a top stitch needle.
Oh, okay. Simple as that. It's what it keeps coming back to, isn't it?
Yeah.
Needle. Bobbin.
Yeah.
What's going on?
So, well, key thing is not just a top stitch needle, to be fair. That's the key thing. Top stitch needle has its eye is like 2.5 times the size of a regular needle.
Right.
And as we know, with top stitch thread, if it's a jeans thread or something like that, it's usually like a 30 thickness.
Yeah, they are
thicker. So you need that extra. So if it's restricting, that's obviously what gives you the loops and lumps on there, because it's not flowing well enough.
Would a jeans needle do effectively the same?
No, jeans needle is just a toughened needle, because you can get a jeans needle.
But you'd expect, you see, for me, I would expect it to have a bigger eye, because I'm going to be putting through thicker thread.
No, because not everybody's going to use thicker thread with a jeans needle. And to be fair, 80% of machines will not even sew with thicker thread, because it's not the timing, the hook timing, everything is not right. You would never get it set. So it's fortunate we're enough. Again, as we're going to show with the embroidery threads, the quilting threads, top stitch threads, we can use a 30 thickness. But another thing as well, which I would say, with the using then top stitch thread, at least double your stitch length. At least double your stitch length. Is because again, using a thick thread where you're used to making probably a hole at like maybe even 0.5 millimetre on there, using a thick thread, you're making that hole about 1.5 millimetres, because it's really quite a bulk on that.
Right.
So therefore, the travelling distance, it will make your stitches look small, and if it hasn't got time to tension it before it sews the next stitch, that's again what can give you that little loop.
They go
so
easily.
Elongate your stitch length on there.
Perfect.
Or if you've got a juki,
what
I can
Come on,
show
Leslie.
you
Well,
on
she does.
here-
She does have a juki.
Oh, fantastic. So with your juki, because of the feed system and everything else, I can get away with not using top stitch thread, but give me the top stitch effect with the strength. So what I've got is just I've just got some denim, just so it shows you in the stitch it is. I'm going to take the mauve off, and let's stick some gold on. Let's stick some jeans colour thread on. Why not? Make it look a bit more authentic on that way, if I can find the ends. Oh,
have you got it?
Oh, yeah. I think one's come from the middle, one's come from... Oh, I don't know.
What's going on? What have you done?
What has happened there? It's coming from the bottom and the top.
Was that a new? That's a new. We've never used that one.
Yeah, somehow it's sewn in underneath. That's been wound a little bit differently. There's another thing also. Great this has happened, because we do see this on new reels of thread as well. It's just when in the winding process, the tail would have got caught under one of the last or two runs.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's actually virtually stitched it in along the reel. If you hadn't recognised and started sewing, obviously part way through your sewing, that's just going to jam up, snap the threads and everything, because it's just locked itself. So my ways around that is literally, I'm afraid you are going to end up wasting thread.
But just
and then pull it off until it gets but this is really deep into it, as you can see.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You know, I'm not going to do
Don't
that,
use
but that's
that
something
one.
we can look into afterwards.
Yep, okay.
On that, and let's grab myself jeans orange instead.
Helen, what can we do to help you? If you message info@Natasha Makes, then we can help you with that. Steve's given in. He'll let amateurs play.
Yeah.
Ali says,
Brilliant.
like, if I can afford one of these gorgeous machines, if Ernie is good to me, I will be buying. Ali, do you know what? This or the DX, you know, I think just having a juki is the place to start.
You're just upgrading your sewing performance straight away.
Yeah.
So everything I've just done there with the fabrics, and what I'm going to be doing here now, the DX will do this as well. So again, going to the DX, you are really upping that level of sewing. Hopefully just a hassle-free. Hopefully it will allow you to use in all those awkward fabrics again you might have avoided in the past, or when you finish sewing it you think, it doesn't look too professional. So yeah, the DX got the box feed, the stronger motor, so it's got that sewing system in there.
Before I started Natasha Makes, the DX7 was my absolute, that was my dream. Like, I didn't even dare dream of what the UX8 wasn't a thing, and the NX7 was like, oh my goodness, you know, if I won the lottery type, that would be the absolute dream for me. And I love the DX. I love the DX, and then so all dreams come true, really. I do know how lucky we are to have all the machines in all the world. Hang on, how many layers are you doing there, Gary?
In fact, I've done like a hem, so it's sort of just a folded three layers on there, because this is sort of going to show you the actual stitch itself. So at the moment, I'm on normal straight stitch length 3.2 on there. Again, slightly longer because it's that slightly heavier fabric. So all I'm going to do is show you a seam. So this is basically the same as most machines will do. This is the stitch you will get from it.
Oh, Leslie's very pleased that you're doing this. Leslie, we're using Orifil today. That's what we've got in here.
So if we can see...
Do you want to actually just pop it in front of the machine, and then we can just get that close up as soon as...
So obviously that is just a normal...
Down a bit.
Down a bit, there. Because the orange is harder to see on that light now, isn't it? But that is obviously just a straight stitch. That's what every other machine will do on there. And as we can say, it's not a jean stitch, but on some machines, say using top stitch can be a little bit painful, setting it up and things like that. So what we can do on here, I'm just going to go into the stitch patterns, and then, which virtually all machines have got, is the triple stitch, straight stitch,
love the triple
supermatic
stitch,
reinforced stitch. There's many names for it on here. But with a lot of machines, the problem is once you go to that stitch, the feed travel will only allow you probably up to about 3mm, because the domestic machine's got that elliptical feed system on there. Because of the box feed system now, I can take the stitch length up, so the dial on the front of the machine, so I can go up and up. And then if I'm going to go up to like 5mm, because it's going to stand out better on TV, and if I then just do that fold seam again.
Leslie's with you. She said, I also sometimes use a triple stitch, straight stitch to make it look more like a top stitch. You two are in sync today, for sure.
Because a lot of people, again, sort of when they recognise that, they don't always realise they can turn it up as well. So they end up leaving it. And yes, it will give you a heavier stitch, but this actually, I'm going to take that down to 4.5 actually. This will give you that true jeans effect. So again, triple stitch forwards and back. But because it's a 4.5mm travel now, you can tell it's a stitch I like. It really
Gary,
is.
I use this in bag making.
Yeah.
When I top stitch around the top, because that's going to reinforce my handles if I've sewn my handles in. All of those things. I absolutely love it. So this is a stitch I use a lot. Eileen says that she wants the DX. She has the NX, but wouldn't dream of taking it to classes. How heavy, I'll get it out in a minute.
Yes, you do, yeah.
Is the DX.
9.5 kilograms.
There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So I know we can see
You will when I
the
get
difference
around to
on there. So, well, straight away you can see how much that stands out in this light compared to the normal straight stitch on here. But that gives you that real jeans effect, top
fabulous.
stitch.
Yeah.
As you can see, it stands out really, really well as well. And then I haven't had to play around by using top stitch needles. It will give you exactly the same effect.
Love it.
Also, it'll give you more flexibility because you can use what thread you've got at home as well. You haven't got to go out and try and match something else in. So, and then you say for reinforcement, the tops of bags, bag handles, anything like that, you can use that stitch. Absolutely brilliant. And also for things like the vinyl and that, I use it on, which is really, really good that way. But no, if you want that top stitch jeans effect, as such to say, I would personally do that instead of putting heavyweight threads through domestic machines.
Perfect.
Because there's always a chance of a little hiccup, because any domestic machine have got limited to what timing settings. This is it. It's just the hook timings and things like that. So so because of that's built into it, I would use that stitch every single time on there.
Do you know what Jane says? I dream of juki. Even though I don't have a juki, I've learned a lot about threads, needles, etc. These are simple things that should be known, but as they are not in my instructions for my machine, I've obviously made a lot of mistakes and wasted time over the years. And this is a thing, but a lot of this, I mean, you come with a wealth of knowledge of over 30 years.
It's over the years of knowledge.
But also in the manual, a lot of this is in the juki manual. And this is why it's so brilliant to read, just read your manual.
And this is also why specifically we wanted in there that it was a single language. Because there is so much information in there. Then once you start using different terminologies from different countries, it throws it completely out. Because what we call something, the Americans will call it something else, the Australians will call it something else, and things like that. So it is a proper manual set to give you that full information, gauging threads, etc. that way. So no, we are very proud of those manuals on there. But you say the help is on the machine as well, so you can go into the machine, but having it actually highlighted in front of you and as a reference point, that we do find is brilliant. Absolutely. So so certainly again, having then true effects for different types of fabric, so you can get the overall finish that you want on there, but also then coping with different fabrics that you wouldn't necessarily need to want to sew. Like things like fleeces and things like that, these are usually reserved for overlockers. So
they are, apart from, Gary, we have some beautiful supple velvet. Which if you make into a baby blanket is just perfect if you just put a bit of fleece on the back.
And it just acts as that backing there, which is really, really nice. And great, this is sort of saying that, because this is where then a lot of people will say, if you haven't got an overlocker, and they don't like doing it.
Don't even touch it,
But this is being used more and more now for backings and interlinings, etc. that way.
And also, when I make quilts for the Dogs Trust, out of all my scraps, then I always back them in fleece, because then I won't put wadding in it, and it's just nice and fluffy.
Well, the thing is, they're not going to get their nails and tear it apart like they would do with wadding. It washes and washes and washes and washes, and it's warm. So absolutely ideal. We sell so much of this. You say literally for dog beds, cat beds, blankets, outside coats, anything like that.
Absolutely.
That on the inside with a little bit of waterproofing on the outside, you've got yourself an instant dog coat or something like that.
We've got patterns for how to measure your own dog coat.
And I fantastic.
I remember I asked Josh to, when our designer who put, I put them all together, take the photos and whatnot, and then he makes it look pretty. And I wanted a picture of this dog, and he's like, we're not doing a male dog. And I'm like, yeah, we are. Because actually, where the belly strap goes on a male dog is very important.
I suppose
less so on a female dog.
Right. Okay.
Because of how they toilet. It's as simple as that. On our instructions, it goes into all of that. So if you're looking to make your own dog coat, you can measure it, because no two dogs. It's like the same when you buy a dog coat. It's like that universal fit. No fit. It just doesn't.
I've been staying at a friend's last night on there, and they've got a spaniel, and the spaniels I've seen and all my friends are skinny little bouncy around things. Well, their spaniel is a fit dog, but it's a fit dog, and so you can't just say literally they're all different shapes, all different sizes, and with the same breeds, things like that. It's still going to be different.
My Eric, my Great Dane, he modelled for us just shortly before he died. So
I've got enough fabric for him here.
He is the model for that. So and that was great. So do take a look at that if you're looking for dog beds and stuff like that.
Brilliant. And so sewing things like this, and again why this takes it to that next level where it doesn't then restrict you, or when it does sew it, it's going to come out perfectly. So having the built-in walking foot now, which obviously we all know for patchwork, for quilting, is absolutely brilliant.
Yes.
And the nice thing, having it built into the machine, I can use the interchangeable feet. So unlike a screw-on attachment where you could basically, you've got your zigzag hole and virtually that's it, I can put the zip feet on, I can put the 1/4 inch feet with guides on, I can use the utility feet, and I can actually engage the walking foot with all of those as well.
Which is incredible, because
Absolutely
if you
brilliant.
had to buy different feet, different walking feet to encompass
a
all
lot
of
of companies
those,
you can't even buy
you can't even
different
get them.
walking feet.
Yeah.
That's right, they're not even available.
So suddenly you've just doubled the number of feet you've got with your machine, effectively.
Absolutely, yeah, very,
amazing.
very much so on there. And it's safe, and certainly for things like putting in zips and things like that. Most of the time, if you haven't pinned that zip and you get that slight movement on there, it's going to notice on there. But again, having the walking foot, which you can then use with a zip foot,
Brilliant.
it's going to keep the layers, it's going to keep them all moving nicely. So
because you know, like it or not, you've always got layers when you're sewing in a zip.
Oh, absolutely.
And especially if you've got if you've sandwiched with your lining, your outer,
especially when you get to the ends of the lumps and bumps as well, where suddenly you need an extra hand to hold it all.
Yep.
The walking foot clamps it.
Does it?
So it's
Perfect.
great that way. But we haven't got a normal built-in walking foot, of course not.
No.
I have a normal one.
No.
Don't have a normal. Everybody's got, not everybody, but some people have got a normal one.
Come on, what
I'm
do you
going
got?
to do, the walking foot itself is attached when that comes around from the back. So all I do is bring that down, we can see, and it's into place like so. So as soon as I've done that,
it's just amazing.
the machine will know that's what I've done.
Yay.
So it's actually told me then, but it's also now telling me to return the smart feed. Why is it telling me to return the smart feed? The reason I'm doing that, because it doesn't accept the stitch I'm on. So it will know there's certain, because Supermatic stitches, a walking foot is designed to walk forwards, not to walk backwards.
Yes.
So a Supermatic stitch, basically where it walks forwards, back, forwards, back, forwards, back, no good for a walking foot.
Do you know what? I did this on a demo, and I'd only had this machine a week, and I had to demo it somewhere, and it just, and it did that to me. I was like, what have I done? What have I done? What have I done?
Why is it doing that?
Yeah, and under pressure as well. Just and it's the machine looking after me, and you can't ask for more.
So
than
that's
that.
the thing with going to this sort of height of the machine. People sort of say, well, who's it aimed at? And it's aimed at everybody. Fair enough, it's a large investment for a beginner. But if you are going to begin on something and you start with that level, hopefully it's just going to take off and go, because it's going to get you away from the frustration bits on there by, oh, I forgot to put the foot down, or I forgot to do this, or I forgot. It solves all of those issues on there. So what I'm going to do is just go back to normal straight stitch, just center needle position on there. So on a normal straight stitch, then the stitch length is 2.4. Again, fully recommended. Thicker the fabric, because it's softer the fabric, so therefore the stitches will dig in more. Longer the stitch.
Okay.
So I could go up to about 3.4 on this one just to start off with. Obviously now I've gone back to normal straight stitch, I'm going to then reinsert the walking foot, so that again comes down, click, no screwdrivers, no hassle. And then fleece, the thing is with fleece, obviously it's got the stretch on it, it will move. So what I'm going to do is pop that under, and then I'm going to sew
Eileen says, me again. Does the DX have a built-in walking foot? No, it doesn't. It comes with a walking foot. And does it have a programmable foot pedal?
Yes, it does. Yes, it's a heel back. It's got variations, so I can needle up, needle down, cut the threads on there. So yeah,
it doesn't do quite as much as your NX7.
No.
But there's a reason that there's several thousand pounds
that extra
difference.
control and sort of extra programming that the machine, obviously going up to the NX UX has now. So when sewing this, again, sometimes this machine does make me look stupid. The reason it makes me look stupid is because I think it's actually going to do something not right, and it does it perfectly.
Oh, okay. There you
go. But that is the nature sometimes, because of again what the machine performance is like. But usually, as we would know, with this type of fabric, it would stretch it.
One side.
It would stretch it, so it would then come out waved on there. So, but if you want then allow for that, so then you know that it's going to come out perfectly flat. And there's different ways we can use this for as well. I've got a little cog on here. if I press that.
Oh, hang on, sorry, we missed that.
Yeah, sorry, there's a little cog on here.
There, yeah.
That's it. So I can go in and I can then alter the slight variations on the machine itself. Obviously, with some stitches, the cog will give me more information than other.
Yeah.
So on that, but in this one, underneath the cog on here, you've got a smart feed button.
Right.
So what I do, if I press that, this screen will now change and a dial will appear. So those people who have got an overlocker at home, they will know what a differential feed is.
Okay, for those of us that don't.
And those who don't, on an overlocker, you have 2 feeds. It's easy to do this, and they basically move like that.
Yeah.
A differential feed will make that feed and that feed move differently.
Right.
Slower, faster, so it either push fabric in, take fabric out. So therefore, if your fabric is being stretched, so when you take it out, it then comes through waved, it's because it's pressurised it and it's feeding them, and as it's feeding them, it's stretching them.
Different.
And this is the thing with a sewing machine. Sewing machines have never ever had differential feeds. It's just, there's only one feed system on there, so you can't actually have that done. So what we've done at Juki, so again, we developed on our industrials quite many years ago.
Yeah.
We have now turned the walking foot to a differential feed walking foot.
Which is
crazy. When I now sew, again, if I was to sew through and it ended up stretching the fabric and waving the fabric.
Yeah.
So actually, because it didn't do it on that, I can show you the way what I can do on a fine piece of fabric.
So Gary, if you know that you've got one layer that's stretched and one layer that isn't, what would you do then?
The problem is when you start looking at things like that and you know there's going to be a certain amount of movement, tack it.
Just give it a spray. As much as you can,
obviously on there is because anything, certainly when you've got 2 surfaces which are different as well, and it doesn't matter how good a machine pressure is, how good a feed system is, if the fabric slips against itself, there's nothing you're going to change with that on that. So a bit of high tack, a bit of spray, just the temporary adhesive sprays,
just to hold
a little bit of spray on that. Obviously you can sit there and tack it by hand, put safety pins in, or it's entirely up to you.
Those things.
I personally would give it a little spray. It's nice and quick, it's easy, doesn't damage your fabric on there as well. So
so what have we got here?
So I've actually just picked up a lightweight piece of poly cotton, because the fleece itself, even though it's designed for that sort of stretch to stop that waving, what I can show you, so if I just start, then all I'm going to do, this is a very fine piece of poly cotton, and
it really is,
and it's stitching it, obviously this of that fine, absolutely no problem. Because of the walking foot, it's travelling it through, so it's not allowing it to pucker.
Right.
So, but what I can do now is alter that. So if I turn then the differential feed up, just by using the touch screen and dial, you can see it will then move.
That's so clever.
So, which is just nice visual graphic on there. So I turn that up to 5 and then start going again. Then what that will allow me to do is going to then sort of pinch the fabric slightly.
Right.
But if I turn this now up the other way, so complete round, and then going into the plus numbers.
Yeah.
Sew that through again. Again, it's going to be one of those things going to make me look a bit silly because it's just still travelled it through perfect.
Still doing it beautifully.
Absolutely, still not going to do it wrong for me. Right.
Can you see any difference there, Gary?
There is a bit where I knew it would do it slightly wrong. So you can see when it first started, there was no pucker, but this is where I've adjusted it and it has puckered it.
Hang on, just pull that down just a little bit.
Oh, sorry, look at the screen, it does.
Oh yeah, you can see.
So you can see
ever so slightly,
that
but it's
slight
not much.
puckering because of how well it's actually travels it through.
And with a good press,
and
you might get away with it.
That would probably come out, absolutely. But if I moved that up now, where then I have adjusted it, and say that's a single layer of very fine polycotton, and as you can see now, because of that movement, there is not a single pucker, crease, so it just allows you that performance, but it will do different things on different fabrics.
That's very clever.
It's horrible sort of when I've got something that's not really going wrong to allow me.
You must be the only demonstrator that's like, I can't believe it didn't go
I
wrong.
know, I wanted it to go look right. Actually,
okay,
I'll try.
So half a zebra. What's
let's
gonna
try
happen with
on
half
this
a
one.
zebra?
So let's go back to the stitch length. Again, it's that thicker, softer fabric, so I am going to put the stitch length back up again. So let's go back into the smart feed. Let's take that back down.
Oh, Lisa wants to know. She said, "Hi, sorry if this has already been answered, but she said I have an NX7 brackets beautiful machine.
Brilliant.
How long does a service normally take, and is it easy to fix the automatic needle threader dropped off when I broke a needle? Don't ask. You can order yourself a replacement needle threader.
Clip on and off needle threader. So that's something which is very easy.
And you could, if you watch back, Lisa, the last time that Gary was on, which was January, wasn't it?
It was January, yeah.
We did 3 hours and he basically serviced the machine.
On that. But
and you can see how to do that.
How easy to do.
Yeah.
But what I would do is, again, because it was asked for earlier,
Yeah.
I will just quickly run through that again on there. So no problem at all.
The DX7 is possibly quite fluffy.
That's what I'm going to take apart. So,
yeah, there we go.
Because they both service in basically the same
Yeah.
way on that. So yeah, no problem.
We saved it all up for you, Gary. All
Brilliant,
that fluff.
thank you. This machine loves me. It's just, again, it's not stretched. It's not. So
come on, do it wrong, machine.
Again, with something like that, I know it doesn't seem a lot, but as we all know, with this sort of soft baby fleece fur,
it's hell on a
and
stick,
it's stretched,
normally.
it moves, things like that. So yeah, but again, as we can see, it's an absolute perfect seam on there.
Oh, Gary!
So when you
Gary.
I've got no more awkward fabrics as bad
What if
as
you
that.
put? What if you put the zebra with the orange fleece?
And the fleece, let's give that a go and try them
that,
together.
I wonder if you can make it go wrong with that.
Let's see what we can do that way. Let's have a go. So, actually, what I will do is put the fleece on the on the top, because it's the fur which will be more awkward to feed. The fleece will actually grip better than the fur, so I'll make it more the awkward way by putting that. Usually, if I was to sew this, to be fair, I would put the fleece against the feed, because the fleece is a harder contact. So you always want your harder fabric against the feed,
right?
Because that's what will grip the best going through.
Yes, yes.
But let's put the awkward fabric underneath and see.
So are we trying to stitch this right or wrong?
Well, I'm hoping it's going to do it wrong, so I can show you to adjust it to do it right. But
amazing.
It's like we almost planned this program so that it literally makes me look silly, so it's great because it makes the machine look great. So, yeah, well,
come on.
Again, if we can look at that on there, it's not obviously moved the two layers against each other. They've both come out flat, but obviously the key thing, there is not a single pucker or movement. Just how great my machine is.
That's it, isn't it?
That's it. So, but you have got those, like with sort of a little bit with the gathering and that, you have got that fine tuning. So if those real sort of stretch fabrics, and to be fair, we are going to come across at one point or another on that, the softer the stretchier, certainly with like babies, real soft clothes and that, then yeah. But again, it's just proving the quality of the juki, how much different variety of fabrics you can put through without even adjusting anything. Yeah, but there we go. Yeah, so no, it's come out absolutely perfect. You say this is stretch fleece against a real soft sort of fur, stretch fur as well, and it's just perfect.
I quite like the orange and the zebra together. Actually, it's
nice little contrast on there, isn't it? Yeah. Absolutely.
Awesome. What else do we need to see?
So it's one of there's a couple of stitches on here which people do ask me for, how do we do it, and sort of the setup on there. One of them is the tapering stitch. It really, for the miter cornering, the tapering, obviously with the GX and the other jukis have all got a variation of that.
Okay.
But again, this just takes it that one step further on here. So I'm going to take off the orange thread. This time, can we have a little play with some of the variegated? Is there one I can use?
Do you want a thick one or a thin one, or just a normal one?
The 30's fine. Yeah, the 30 stands out quite nicely.
There's either open up one of the boxes because there's new.
Yep.
So or if you just want a variegated thread, than the variegated threads on the spool thing.
So we can, you're right, I'll play with one of these and obviously see,
go for it.
because also the effects, until you see it stitched out, it's hard to really see sort of what
Which
the
one
effect is.
Which one are you opening?
The mauvey purple
lovely,
ones?
perfect.
Yep, is that okay?
Yeah. It's all right, because I'll use that one then to top stitch the Liberty quilt.
Wonderful.
What number does it have on the back, Gary, just so that Gemma knows?
Number, colour free.
Colour free, there you go. She's nodding.
Yeah, so this is the work, I'm using the box range of colour free numbers, so, and the one I will choose, this specifically one is 4025.
Beautiful.
So a nice variegated sort of lilac mix on there. So,
so this is where it's confusing. 30 is thicker.
30 is thicker.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Generally, most threads you will buy, and if you sort of off-the-shelf sewing thread, is usually a 50 thickness. In manufacturing, making shirts and things like that, you would use a 60 thickness thread. We sell lots of it, but it's very hard to find it until you go to a specialist shop.
Yeah.
So again, if you're using like a nice fine like lawn or something like that, it's really nice. If it's finer the thread you are, the better it is obviously going to look on the fabric, because if you're using a thicker thread and the thread is thicker than the weave of the fabric, it's going to stand out a bit more on there as well. But obviously, being decorative, I'm using a thicker thread on top, but I am going to stick to a thin thread on the bobbin.
Because
It doesn't matter what it looks like underneath on there, and also by doing that it takes the bulk out of it, it pre-tensions it slightly as well. So there is various reasons why I would use that.
Now, what spool cap are we using on this?
Again, if you've noticed, every time I've sewn, I've not used a spool cap at all.
Okay, fair enough.
The reason I haven't used it, because I'll be feeling the weight of as I'm threading a machine, right, that's heavy enough, that's heavy enough.
Be all right.
I know it's not going to move, but as we talked earlier, when you get into like this type of reel, where it's very lightweight and that, we know they're going to move around. So just, again, it's over time of judging, you get to know, as the more you use something, the more you get to know how it's going to react on there. But rule of thumb, again, if I was to use that, measure the end of it, there you go. Then that's the one that I would use. So
now, there's a lot of love for Juki here. Megan's saying changing the needle thread is not too difficult. I called the shop and Gary taught me through it. Such good service.
Wonderful.
And Lisa says, I totally agree, Megan. I had to call up when I punctured the bobbin case. Again, don't ask, or part of the learning journey. I keep telling myself. Was assured that it wasn't just me. Not sure if it was Gary, but whoever I spoke to was a great help. There we go. And that's what you can expect when you buy a Juki machine.
Again, and this is very, very important. There's sort of the times we hear, and again, obviously, because we deal with all manufacturers and that, and we know it's not even frustration from the end users as well. We've got like yourselves and that. We need to help. We need to provide, because you need to help and provide your end users as well. Because if we can't provide you, it's going to make you look not good business as well. So as I say, that one weak link will cause a big problem. So hopefully there's no weak links that way.
No leak link. Okay.
Right, so we're again just going to conventionally thread it back up again. Over, under, behind, number 7, cut off threader, needle threader, down. What you've got to be careful as well, with thicker the thread, using a smaller needle, obviously it's not always going to take the thread through the eye of the needle, because obviously with this thickness what you've got is obviously it's not just putting one piece of thread through, it's pulling 2 layers of thread through. So you've got to think, oh hang on, is there enough room? So just do it slowly with thicker thread, like that one. So it has actually gone through the eye of the hole, because when I did it a bit faster, it didn't do it because it was too thick. So I slowed it down a little bit just to make it a bit easier, and it's worked perfect. So again, it's little things like that. But going back to the question earlier about using a jeans thread, unless you are using a top stitch needle, definitely do not use a needle threader, because the actual thickness of the thread is actually slightly, the hook itself doesn't always grab it. And if you're using a 60 thickness needle, do not use a needle threader, because the hole is so fine. The actual hook will get caught in the needle. So
these are the things we need to know.
A little tip there, on that side. So going through then the different types of groups of stitching, etc. on here, as we say on the top of the machine, we've got it all there, and then we can go in, we can just press the number, and then if we want to, we can then scan through on the front of the machine, sort of page by page, left and right. And then as we can see across the top, it's coming from buttonholes, applique, tapering, quilt. It's actually giving us our groups of stitching there as well.
Yes.
So first of all, what we can do is think, right, what I'm actually after is then the tapering stitches. So it's got it on there. I am just going to stick to a normal satin stitch, taper stitch to start off with. So basically, what is tapering? Why do I need it? What it will do? First of all, what I'm going to do, we all know satin stitch. We know sort of applique, or generally we do as well. Always, and this, I think I have said this before, but it sounds one of those daft things as well. When you're doing things like buttonholes, satin stitch, anything where you've got a real close and you want the smooth stitch, do a test piece.
Yeah, it's true.
The thickness of my thread will react to whether I'm using a 30 or 50 or whatever that way. The type of fabric I will use. Also, on some lighter weight fabrics, do not be afraid to use backing. Put some stitch and tear on there. Put a couple of layers on there if you have to. Because you're always best to over-stabilise your fabric and have the stitch more perfect. And if you don't stabilise it, it ends up just puckering all your fabric up. And
the
also,
reason that manufacturers make these things.
Exactly it, yeah. And if you look at sort of a lot of the time, if it's actually done by a manufacturer, and you sort of like with t-shirts where they put names or embroidery applique, you turn it over, a lot of times it's got a horrible piece still stuck on it, because theirs all about speed, time and things like that. They're just pumping it through. Where obviously for ourselves, with a nice fine bit of backing or something like that, we can just tear it out, we can get rid of it.
Or some wash away.
There's
dissolvable
always that.
One.
Exactly, and then you can do it that way as well. So for some reason when I speak to people and they sort of say put a backing, like, I don't, what? There's no reason not to put a backing, because it disappears. So
Sue's just asked, do we have to do anything with the tension if you've got different weights on top and bottom? Well, that's what we've got now.
And then the idea is, what I wanted with this one is, because I don't want a balanced stitch. I want the top to look perfect, but I also want it to pull that top thread slightly underneath.
Right.
And so the finer thread will be a joining underneath. Is because when you're looking at applique embroidery, you don't care, you don't see the underneath usually. No. To be fair, if you're doing a balanced stitch, then you will need to balance it or use the same threads.
So for my Liberty applique quilt that we saw, which this thread is for, it will be balanced because that is the quilting.
That's it.
So you will see the thread on the underside.
That's it. So therefore, you would use the same thread on the underside on that. But then what you'd probably have to do then is elongate your stitch length slightly,
and that's fine.
And things like that.
Well, it'll be a blanket stitch.
That's So in that case, then you would then just have a little play for the sample again. Do your sample piece first. But absolutely no problems. And the nice thing about this, so all I'm going to do now is a satin stitch at the moment, just so I'm testing my fabric, I'm testing my stitch width, so I want to make, I'm going to make it wider, so let's take it up. So sort of,
I love that you can do that while still stitching.
That's a nice thing as well. I haven't got a stop change. And then as I'm sewing, I'm actually going to take that down to about 0.5 on the stitch length, sew a little bit more, take it down to 0.4. So I can now see how close my satin stitch is getting. And we can see it all changing on screen as well. So we can see it closely. If I actually take it up, you can see that, and then back down again.
That's very clever.
So 0.4 for this fabric and this thread for me is looking right. So I'll stop that. Let's just take that out. So if we look on here, so this is where it was first set. Oops, move it down. So this is where it was first set. So that was like a 3.5 mil and 6 millimeter in stitch length. So as we made it wider, we've taken it up to sort of just over 5 mil. But then we turned around, changed this a little bit closer. This is down to 0.4. This is where I adjusted it back up again to show you then the difference. And then I took it back down to 0.4. So for this fabric, for this thickness of thread, 0.4 for me. Absolutely spot on for how I would like it. So done my test piece. I'm happy with that now. What is tapering? So we all know applique, the satin stitches is on that, but sometimes you want those sharper corners, sharper turnings and things like that. And years ago, and I'm probably talking 30 years ago, a class that we went to, and it's from another manufacturer, is they basically set as a task to do a mitered corner. And back then, we had to change the width, change the length. We had to then change the needle position, turn the fabric, move it, change the needle position back.
Yeah, you just wouldn't.
It was very complicated to do. So, and it's one of those things you just didn't bother doing because to get it right was too hard.
And to consistently get it right as well. That's the other thing, because you might be able to taper going into one corner, but then to taper it the same coming out.
Yeah. Or also, we spend so much time doing the first and second one. By the time we get to the third or fourth, we think, actually, I'm losing a bit of patience here. So they end up coming out slightly different as well. So there is that. So on here, as I mentioned before, we've got a little cog button. So if I press that, it's now come up with a bigger menu, unlike my straight stitch only had one thing on it.
Yeah.
So tapering top, at the moment it's off. I want to switch that on. Now I've switched it on, it's actually not with the DX7.
Yeah.
DX7 basically does it in 45 degree.
Yeah.
So fairly set on those ones.
That's fine.
This is where we've now taken it a little bit further. So we've now got in, say, 30, 45, 60, left, right. So we completely can play around to whatever corner, whatever. We can make up in hexagons, triangles, everything we want, rather than just actually miter corners. So what I'm going to do is just put the 45 degree, because I am just going to do a 90 mitered on there. I'm happy with that. And then what we can do is then tapering length. I can choose a set length, so if we want to then have an equal every time, so we are making up, say, squares or anything like that. And then as soon as I press that, in the bottom, so where it was the foot pressure, it's now turned that into tapering length. So at the moment, that will give me 5.5 centimetre line.
From start to finish. So you can measure off how far off on your quilt or whatever you want that tapering to be.
Exactly.
So
You've not got to sit there and specifically, right, one more stitch, one more stitch, one more stitch. No, you've measured it, you programmed it, job done on there. And also to get that repeater pattern. So if you are going around hexagons or anything like that, you want that repeater pattern, and this will allow you to do that.
This is so clever.
And then what I can do is at the end of it, I want tapering on the bottom as well. I'll stick to the 45 degree with that one. Happy with that. So I'll set the top, I'll set the beginning, I'll set the middle, and I'll set the end.
Amazing.
So what we do is just going to pop that under again. Foot down.
This is so clever.
Obviously, even though I've gone and messed around with all the tapering and that, it hasn't changed the length, it hasn't changed the width. The settings I originally thought was right is all good. So now it's then coming to the end, it's automatically stopping now. The one thing I did forget to do, and I always do it,
turn off your thread.
Turn off the thread trim and things like that.
So in that situation, I would, if it were me, and you can tell me if you would do something different, I'd put my needle down before I touch anything, so that I can then just spin it around.
You know it's in exactly the right place. So that, say, foot down, needle down, so the foot's then pop back up again. So then if I want to then I'm going to pivot it, rotate it 45, 90 degrees, back down again, and then away I start again. Or then what I can do, if I go back into the settings, just turn the scissors off on there. So I can,
so it's not going to do it again.
I can just go back into that screen. So it's not like I've lost the opportunity to do that once I've come away from it.
And you haven't lost all of your settings either when you come back in.
That's exactly the same. I can literally go from page to page. I can come completely out of that as well, and then do something else. And then what we have got, which I showed last time, which I will repeat on myself, it automatically saves the last 10 stitches I've done. So I can just go in, if I don't use this for a few stitches, I just go back. If I want to do some more now, bang. Then I've got some top stitching to do and to do that. So
very, very clever. Ginny said this has been such a helpful show.
Wonderful.
And so relevant to other makes of machine too. Thank you, Gary and Natasha and other viewers for helpful comments. I feel enlightened. Sue says, love my juki. I would have a lighter one as well. Highly recommend these machines. We've got the DX7 as a lighter machine. And the refurb ones, guys, we are the only people away from Franklin's that sell the refurbed machines.
As a new machine, so full 2-year warranty, everything that way. Obviously, we have ourselves personally checked every single machine. Even though they are new, we have still gone through absolutely everything on there.
And it's that attention to detail that, you know, again, we just love.
Well, there's nothing more frustrating than getting a new toy and it's not behaving itself.
No, you don't want that. Hang on. Whoa.
So we have a look at that. And absolute perfect miter corners.
Wow.
Obviously, with the nice thing with the variegated thread, it gives you that idea on that. And you say, because of using this thread, you can see then the split, because it's not a square split, obviously it's cut it on the 45 across the middle. You can even see then that variation, the way it changes the thread slightly as well. So you know it's been done by hand. It's you have changed it, you've moved it.
You could do that. You could create a little box on the corner of a quilt to put it, to do your labels or whatever it is.
Absolutely on there.
That's just
even
fabulous.
Joining, say, with I think obviously to do a lot of that on a big quilt, which could be very, very heavy. But if you say you do like hexagonal placemats or something like that, and having that appliqued and joining around and that, obviously we've got the degrees and angles to change and to play on there. Yeah. So it's not obviously just your 90-degree cornering and that as well.
Well, you could then embroider an initial or something in there, or whatever it is.
Monogramming. Absolutely ideal for monogramming indeed. So so it is one of those stitches I do get asked, it really is that easy on there. So, which is absolutely brilliant. So then what we can do is on here, there's another stitch I would love to show you on here, because it is one of the biggest, and to be fair, say the DX has got it as well. It's not new to this machine, but it is one of those stitches which people absolutely adore. We did talk about it earlier for some of your quilting. The Chipunto stitch or Sashiko stitch or the hand effect quilt stitch, or there's various different ways and names. So you haven't got a reel of invisible thread I can have at all, have you, please? I have got, to be fair, I've got one. I can go and get it, but I've left it in the van for some reason. I don't know why I've left it there. As you probably don't use a great deal, do you?
I do have one somewhere. Excuse me, everybody. It might be in this one here.
While you're looking for that, the reason I want an invisible thread is because I put the invisible thread on top of the machine and thread that through, as we normally do. The actual stitch I'm going to see is then going to be the thread I'm going to put on the bobbin. So I will use the same thread because I've got it there, so it makes no difference, and also being a 30 thickness, it is that bit heavier as well, which I like for the effect. So I'm just going to wind the bobbin. So
give me 2 seconds, Gary.
Indeed, no problem. So let's find ourselves a blank bobbin. The one thing with Juki domestic machines, the one thing I will say, whether you've got a 30-year-old Juki, whether you've got a 3-day-old Juki, the bobbins domestically are all the same. Obviously I can't say that for the industrials, because the industrials take very, very different bobbins, even from each model to model can change. And the Juki, the tabletop industrial, the TL, which I'm looking behind me on here, obviously this takes industrial style bobbins as well, so not the plastic rotary, not plastic rotary, metal rotary in that one. But very important, and it's not just our machines, it's every single sewing machine out there. If you don't use the right size bobbins, you will get vibration, you will get movement, you can get skip stitching on there. Thank you very much, marvellous. So there's my reel of invisible thread. And then also the quality of bobbin as well. If you can go certain places and they can sell you a bag of bobbins and they say it's the same size, it will even quote the names of different manufacturers and that on there as well. But if you look at a bobbin, quality makes a big difference, and it's the quality of plastic. Sorry, you're not really going to see this too well on the camera, but it's the thickness of the walls that makes a difference. It's the smoothness. What you want to do is run your finger around the edge of the bobbin. That cannot be sharp at all. The cheap bobbins, they are not rounded because they were manufactured in such a poor plastic and that's why obviously they are a lot different in price. So even though these seem expensive for what they are actually engineered, so that's why there is a bit of a price there. And it is important if you want performance, continuity, quality, less chance of it hiccuping, the correct bobbins, and obviously the right manufactured bobbins for quality as well. So I'm just going to wind that, so I'm going to pop that on top of the machine like so. Again, we're not really going to be able to see it, but it's very conventional. It's all arrowed and numbered round, so just number 1, number 2, you've got your tensioner, which you will have on any machine. Wrap it round the bobbin a few times, and we do then have a thread cutter, so again just removes any little tails, which is great. With the Jukis as well, they've all got independent bobbin winders, so I can actually wind and sew at the same time. This is another thing about having the external spool holder. I can wind bobbins all day long as I'm sewing, so there's another reason again for that external spool holder, which can be good.
Perfect.
Obviously once it's full, I'm not looking, I'm not clutching or anything like that. The machine itself will just switch itself off once it's full, so which is great that way. So what I'm going to do is now set the bobbin in. Nothing different at all there. Just drop it in, pull it through. Number 1, number 2, number 3. Cut off the tail. Job done. And then the top threading. Again, invisible thread. It literally what it says on there. And obviously, the older I get, the more I have problems finding it. So
yeah. No, it's a tricky one, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly it. Invisible thread.
Yeah.
That's under layers as well. That is wrapped under 3.
Oh, you're joking.
No,
What is it with that?
that's why it doesn't pull off.
Oh,
again, it's
grief.
great it's happened, because for you people at home, again, recognising this, how much trouble that will cause, because that's what will keep breaking needles as well.
These have come from reputable
Yeah,
companies.
that's
really
literally
annoying.
wound. So why I've got this reel, and it's a lot on invisible thread, especially with things of this sort of size as well. Unfortunate, the way they do it to trap the thread is they actually just cut a little piece of cut into the plastic.
Right.
So if you have got any reels with cuts in to grip the thread, make sure those cuts are at the back of the machine. Never have it at the front, because the last thing you want to do is having that thread getting caught in the cut.
Yeah, absolutely.
So on there. So, but I do need to unravel this. Right, okay.
How you doing?
No, he's under several layers.
That's so strange.
Can you excuse me a moment? Is
Yeah,
that all right?
yeah.
You want to speak to the audience?
Talking amongst
on
myself. There we go.
that. Sorry about that.
How does that?
I don't know, I was just going to get one out of the van quickly.
Yeah,
Is that all
go
right?
for it. I don't know if your
Sorry, my
if
microphone.
your mic might just mute. Hang on. Here he comes. There he is. We will mute you and hope that that doesn't. There he goes again. There we go. There we go. There we go. Right. So, have you checked out your baskets for your Tim Holtz? Because that's on a special introductory price. First time we've offered it, cut to order. So yeah, you can see on the set there all of that beautiful Tim Holtzy goodness. What's going on with our threads today, Jem? She doesn't know. She's like, what? She's like, what? What? Didn't know anything was going on with our threads. Poor old Gary's gone to get his own invisible thread. Ours was underlaid and overwrapped.
Oh,
I know, very annoying.
really
Very
annoying.
annoying. That'll be going back to the all the fun. So we are going to do this, and then what we're going to do is switch over to the DX, and we're going to do a little service on the DX. Gary's just being turned back on again. He's back in the building. Ah, there you go.
Right. So this is my reel, as
Yeah.
you say. It's actually more of a cone. To be fair, there's lots of different types of invisible threads out
Yeah.
there. The smaller the reel, as you can see, straight. Oh, actually, you're not going to see it
can't
because
see
it's invisible thread.
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
But this is like a spring. So as soon as it comes off the
Stretchy, isn't it?
reel,
Yeah.
it just automatically springs up. A good quality machine invisible thread should just hang flat.
Right.
So this is also slightly finer,
Right.
and it's more designed for the machine.
So we bought that invisible thread to hang things
Exactly.
invisibly, and that's what it was for. That was
Yeah.
never bought for sewing.
No.
That was bought for decorative uses.
And this is what we find, because again, it's nice thread,
Yeah.
but some threads don't run through machines too well.
Yeah.
Hand sewing, decorative, things like that.
The reason that
absolutely
our
ideal.
scissors hang from our set.
It's held on by the invisible thread. Absolutely.
You know, all of that.
So, but they say, obviously, as you can see, it's a proper cone of
Yeah.
thread. The thread will run off properly. There's no little nicks or cuts for it to catch. It's designed for machines. So
Perfect.
we're going to thread this up in a similar sort of way to like the thick threads. When using the needle threader with invisible thread, just do it a bit slower.
Okay.
On there, because again it's that bit springy and things like
Yeah,
that, so you
yeah,
want to
yeah.
give it just time to grip it. And then what I personally do, just a little tip at home, is when I go and thread So I'm just putting it back on there, get rid of that. And then where all the time you've seen me before, when I thread the needle, I've automatically cut the tail off on the side.
Yeah.
Visible thread, I'm not going to cut the tail off.
Oh, okay.
Because if you make that tail, unlike normal thread, when you cut a short tail, it just flops.
Yeah.
Visible thread, obviously it's springy.
Right.
So
don't do
I'll
that.
leave a longer tail on this one so it's for more to the grip.
Okay.
Using the needle thread, I just go down slowly and back up again. Has done it, absolutely fine. But obviously grabbing it is not as easy.
Yeah. Yeah, Myers is looking at Gary, you'd think he was doing a mime. We like to just entertain you.
That's it, absolutely. And then, ooh. Okay, even I've got this, I've got 3 ends. How have I done that?
Claire says, get more water for Gary, it's just a
Yeah,
100-metre sprint. It might feel like it.
Crikey, yes. Right, what has happened there?
It's not your day for the invisible thread, is it?
Well, you say one bit, everything's been going right. So, well, I didn't want it to
Nothing
go
to
right.
do with the machine.
And then the bits I don't want to go right. No, fingers and thumbs this morning on that, definitely. Right, let's just try that again.
So we were just saying, Gary, what we'll do is we'll do this stitch and then we'll swap over to the DX and give that a quick service.
Yep.
And then we're all good.
Yeah, I think just time just disappears again,
know,
doesn't it? Which is fantastic. It's great, and hopefully, you say, because it's not. Obviously, being here, it's great because it's not sale. I just want to get the knowledge across, and it's great the questions coming back. That's for me what it's about.
And these shows, they stay on YouTube, they stay on our website. So I know that a 3-hour chunk, which is what this will end up being, is a big chunk of time. But if you can dip in and out, and it's there for you as a resource as well, that's massive.
Well, it's just, I say, a resource, that reference point. I think, I remember there was something said about that. Let's go back to that and then do that.
Or if you're, if you think that in the future you're going to go for a juki and you just want to have a bit of more of an in-depth chat about it, then this is the place to be. Because Gary, we both demo on shopping TV.
Yep.
And it's just a different beast.
Oh, very much so.
When you were off the other day, I had to go and do your show over at the craft store.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. It's just the nature of the beast is just slightly different, and you don't get this time to go into everything, chat, have a cup of tea.
Exactly. It's relaxing. It's how sewing should be. It shouldn't be intense and all that. And also, obviously, with ourselves and what you are, it's not just a matter of, right, you're here for that long, you've this amount of sales, bang, through a night. So it's all about then sort of pushing what can sell the machine. Yeah. Where here, it's pushing us, it's having fun, it's just saying we're here, whatever machine we've got with us, we're going to have some fun on, so, and let's just do that. So all I'm doing with this one, I've put
whoa, calico and fleece.
Yeah,
You're asking for trouble now, aren't you?
It's just a sample of, instead of actually doing like a setup of a proper quilting sandwich, so we're just going to do that. But you say, again, not the easier things to do it on, but it just proved that it's not a problem for me.
Although now you add into the mix a invisible stitch thread at the top.
Fleece, calico, invisible thread, big setup of a no, but I will show you absolutely no problems. So what we're going to do is go to the quilting stitch.
Okay.
So along the top, we just press the number. We can just go straight into the quilt line on there. Again, we can then scan up and down and across. So we've got my hand effect quilting stitches. 418 is my favourite one.
Right, okay, we'll do your favourite one.
But again, it's a stitch I do use, so I do know. Automatically, it sets the stitch length to 2.6. I'm actually going to default it to 3.4. I just do like a nice, so it stands out that bit better. So with virtually all other hand effect quilting stitches, on other machine manufacturers, you put the invisible thread on the bobbin, you put your sewing thread on the top, and then you work upside down. Dreadful. Because obviously, can you see which way you're going? No. Can you follow properly and things like that? And also, because it's what they class as a supermatic stitch, i.e. it's stitching forwards, back, forwards, you can't do tight corners because it sprays the stitch out as you're sewing because of the forwards and back movement. This is a constant forward feed stitch, so I can do tight circles, corners, really follow your shapes, your patterns, but also because it's got the thread then on the bobbin, which is then coming through to the top, And this is another thing about the pre-tensioning, the way it looks after itself on there. I haven't got to work upside down. So if I am, you've got obviously many patterns marked on, I'm following an outline actually on my fabric, where you don't want to work that upside down. If you're actually following your design on your fabric, then yeah, so this is the way. So what it's doing is 10 tiny little stitches and then 1 skip stitch. So basically it's going to be, let me just do a few stitches first so we can see then what it's going to be like.
So it just suddenly take a little jolt forward.
Yep, it's 10 there, jolt forward, there, jolt forward. Now what I'm actually going to do now I've done this, I am actually going to adjust the tension slightly. I've never adjusted it on all the normal sewing, but obviously I am doing something a little bit obscure, and the invisible threads obviously is such a fine thread. Sometimes I want it just to grip it a little bit more. But notice I didn't do that to start off with. I'm waiting for me to sew because I'm doing my test piece. And now I'm going to adjust it. So I'm actually going to increase the top tension slightly on there and then sew a little bit more. So what it's actually now doing is then gripping obviously the invisible thread better. So it's just allowing that little bit of tension. So which you will see then. So as I'm sewing, again I can just manoeuvre. I'm quite happy to turn, and you say it's just constantly stitching forward, not back forward, not on there, so I can follow the designs, the patterns very easily. It's not going to spray the stitching out. So as I say, it takes a little bit of time, but the end result, the only other way of doing this is either buying a machine at about £1,600 just to do this one job. What? Or sit there by hand and then take hours doing it. So, so I just stop that there, cut the threads. And if we now have a look, so on the top bit, on here, you can see it's sort of forming the stitch, but quite faintly on here. But if I actually now move up to here, where I then increase that, look at that as a hand effect quilting stitch.
Wow.
So on there, and obviously it's not just that. If I'm doing top stitching on tailoring, like a tailored hand effect stitch or anything like that, just something a bit decorative. But as you can see, it is genuine. The way it's done it, there is a gap there, or there is invisible thread there, I should say. That's the only thing we do give as a warning. Obviously, you got to think invisible thread. Be careful with the iron. Because it's nylon.
Absolutely.
So we always give that, say, a little bit of a warning there as well.
But you see, I would do this. We're doing a Baltimore block of the month, and I've considered whether or not to hand quilt it. But because it's got lots of applique on the top, but I'll probably go round the appliques and do that. But I want that hand stitched look because the rest of it's all been hand stitched. And so this would be perfect.
Absolutely, save you hours,
like it or not,
hours and hours of time.
I don't have hours, you know, and that's...
We'd love it, but we don't.
So this is absolutely, this is revolutionary. That's just solved that question. So, perfect. Thank you, Gary. I've never seen that before. It's brilliant.
It is those unique stitches, again, designed by a sewer for a sewer. Rather than, okay, a machine will give you an effect, but when you actually come and put that effect onto a garment
and
or onto
why you would want to use
exactly
it too. That's the thing. Because Claire wants to know: do you actually sew yourself, or do you is it just demonstration sewing?
I have done. Obviously, my passion is engineering. I started off inside the machine before I learned the outside of the machine as such. But obviously, growing up and obviously having my own shops as well, I've made trousers, I've made shirts. That's sort of on the garment making side, but mainly I made, I've sort of said before, but I'm a big scuba diver. So I make a lot of equipment bags because I buy obscure stuff, really, or things like that. So I make bags and hoddles and holders specifically then for different types of scuba equipment. So so again, time though for me.
But again, if you're making those sorts of things, I know I scuba dive also, and I know that stuff does not come cheap.
Oh, it's not cheap.
You're going to have to make something that is either going to be, it's not going to be normal fabrics that you're making it from. No. And it's also
you want it waterproofed, you want it padded, especially when you start, as you know, buying the hoddles and the gear, if it's to do with diving, is not cheap, but
No.
the equipment which is going in that is
Yeah.
even more expensive.
Yeah.
And then especially when you're looking at life-saving equipment,
Yeah,
regulators,
yeah. Breathing
etc. that way.
underwater.
Breathing underwater.
Yeah.
You want to know when that stuff's in transit, it's not being banged and pushed around.
Yeah.
You want to know that's being kept
Because let's
pristine.
face it, if you're diving, it's generally not in this country unless you go to Dosthill Quarry and
I get shivers just thinking about how cold that is. Oh no, it is one of those. I've
Where I
got some
did all
friends
my
who
exams.
love their diving in the UK. They're
No.
touchy-feely. They
No.
love the wrecks.
No.
No,
No.
I want a shorty. I want some crystal clear water and a bit of warmth there.
Yeah.
Would be nice. Give me
Yeah,
27 minimum water.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
happy with that.
Yeah, I want to see something other than a car wreck. Right, what are we doing with this DX?
Right, so again, thank you very much, and everybody again, hopefully that's a bit more of an introduction to the UX as well, and we've
Brilliant.
played some more stuff and got a bit more out there, so it's brilliant. So
Because this has not been on the market for long. Let's remember that
No.
the UX is the most recent machine.
well, and also, even though the length of time it's been on the market, it's availability, because obviously the shutdown, supplying,
Yeah, all of that.
manufacturers. So there was a lot of time, this was just constantly on back order.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so even
But
though
now
it's
they
been out,
are available.
and now we've got full stocks availability,
Yeah.
so no
Yeah.
problems at all there.
Marie
Yeah.
says, I love my Juki. It's years old, maybe time for an upgrade. Marie, again, absolutely. If you're upgrading to something like the DX7, then we've got one with nearly £200 off, because I say a refurb, it's done less than 2 hours work. And when we say less than 2 hours, probably less than half an hour.
Literally
in all
half an
honesty.
hour running time, probably.
Yeah,
That's it.
absolutely.
So, as I'm going to point out to start off with, this is your machine, not one of our refurb machines. So when I do take it out, there's a lot of fluff in it. It's not how you're going to get one.
No. So this is
on
one
there.
of our workhorses. I made, a good 20 metres of bunting on this the other day. All these things, it's constantly used. I don't know if Jane was using this one or the UX to finish off one of her applique quilts the other day. So all of these things. There you go, Jane.
Well,
if you
again,
just move
even-
that back a little bit.
Yeah,
we're all good.
absolutely. So I'm there.
There you go.
And as we
Thank
know, it can be something you can use once. And if you've used a high fluff fabric, then it's clean the machine out.
Yeah.
But obviously, if you're sitting there using low lint fabrics all day, then you don't necessarily need to do it much. But a lot of people, they think about the fabric,
Yes.
the fluff, and that. What a lot of people don't think about is thread,
Yeah.
because thread creates fluff.
Yeah.
Produces fluff,
Yeah.
drags fluff,
Yeah.
and
All the
that
fluff.
is all down to sort of the quality of thread.
Yeah.
As we all know, moon thread,
Yeah.
great value for money,
Yeah.
but not necessarily the smoothest of thread.
No.
So this will create a lot more fluff. So if you are using something like this thread all day, you really need to clean your machine more than if you was to use something like Gutermann.
Yeah.
And obviously the price points are very, very different.
They are very different.
But
And
the end result can be very different as well.
the way that Gutermann is spun is they extract the fluff as it's being
as it's
spun.
going
It's
in
very
there.
clever how they do
It
it.
really is, and the way also they twist it on the reel, it comes off the reel, and it doesn't matter if it's that way or that way, and it doesn't twist as it comes off the reel as well, because the way it's been wound. And
It's just so when
You-
people say, "Oh, my machine loves Gutermann,"
Yeah.
it only really likes Gutermann. You kind of know why.
yeah,
Yeah.
again, it's because it is one of the best threads you can buy.
Yeah.
And obviously industrially they are actually the biggest. I think I'm correct on saying this. They are actually the biggest manufacturer of thread in the world.
Amazing.
Because they supply huge amounts of the actual industrial manufacturing as
Yeah.
well. I believe so
And made in the
anyway on
EU.
that. So
There you go.
yes, indeed, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So thread makes a big difference for cleaning out as well. I am going to switch the machine on. Obviously at home, and the instruction manual will always recommend is to turn the power off when taking your machine apart and
Of
cleaning.
course.
I'm going to leave it on so it gives us a bit of light.
Yeah.
But what I am going to do is lift the presser foot up.
So it
Because on
can't do
all
anything
the
anyway.
machines, doesn't matter what button I end up pressing, it will not do anything.
Perfect.
So to me, that's my safety feature
Yes.
I'm putting in
Okay.
on there. One thing I do like to say to people, don't be afraid to service your machine, and especially when it comes to a machine where you think, oh, it's computerized, so I don't know if I want to do this, or I don't know how to do that. What I'm going to be doing, everything I'm taking off, nothing is connected by a lead, nothing you have to unplug, nothing is going to be disturbed by any electronics
Right.
or anything like that. It is all pop off, pop in sort of stuff
Perfect. Yeah,
really
yeah.
on there. So I'm going to unthread the machine. I've taken the bobbin out of the machine, so I just clear the thread out that way. Then with your machine you get a great little T-driver. I'm also going to take then the extension table off as well, so it gives the free arm open.
Nice.
So the T-driver looks like that. Great tool is because I can use it that way, obviously for the needle plate. I can use it that way for the needle screw as well, so it really is just a handy grip tool, that one. So to remove the needle plate, again, these should not be over tightened. There's no need to over tighten the screws at all. They are located, so even just, you could saw how easy it did just to pop that out. See some people forcing and forcing. No, they're located well in there, so they don't have to be tight to hold it into place. So but obviously just make sure it's firm. And then the good thing about that is,
so finger tight rather than...
That's it. I usually do it up by finger, then quarter of a turn by screwdriver, and that's enough. That's on there. Yeah, because obviously if it's a machine that vibrated all day, then there's chancing them a little bit. As you can know, these do not vibrate, these do not mount.
So the Jukies don't have to do that. Other machines possibly.
Some of them you may have to on there. So what I do like, again, it's just that part of that engineering thing as well. Then everything I take out, I always either it's like a little tub or something like that. Make sure just put everything in one place on that. And if you're not sure where they go, just a little tip at home as well.
Take a photo.
Exactly it. Taking the two screws out, get your camera, get your phone out, take a picture. That's where those two screws go. Next stage, literally the plate lifts out. Take another picture on there. So
or even do a video.
Or even just keep a constant video going, or come back and watch this again. So so there we have, then we've taken it out with the DX series, and unlike the earlier Exceed, and it's unlike the NX or UX, the DX has a switch for straight stitch and zigzag, this little switch here which changes the hole in the plate. When removing and then putting the plate on, that must be over to the right, so it's in zigzag position.
Whoa, hang on. How did I not know this?
You did not know you got a straight. So that little lever there, if I flick that, if you watch this bar, that turns it into a straight stitch hole.
How did I?
The machine will censor you've got that, so it will only allow you to select 3 different stitches. But
I did not
you did not know you had a straight stitch facility on,
No.
Obviously on the UX and NX they've changed now the whole plate and feed. But this has got, so if you're then switching to like your shears, your chiffons and things like that, no, just flick a switch.
Or
no
even
screwdrivers.
if I'm just when I'm quilting,
when you're
doing
quilting,
triangles
just
and
only
I've got that.
stitch. Those little corners, you don't want them pushed down or anything like that. No. There you go.
I don't know.
Hey, that's great.
That completely passed me by. Brilliant.
So that's a good thing. But yeah, when removing on and off, then flick it back across and make sure then you're on a zigzag position. So on there. So that's your needle plate. Bobbin case. This is the bit where a lot of people don't take out. But this is this is the most important piece to take out, because fluff around here doesn't really affect it too much, but when it gets underneath it, that's when obviously it does affect. So the only way you're going to get to underneath it is taking the bobbin case out. So make sure needle's in the highest position, so it's completely out the way. Finger and thumb, I pinch the front and pull it up. It is as easy as that.
Oh my goodness.
Some people sit there and they fiddle and they're trying to turn it and that. Long as your needle and your needle take, so use your needle up, needle down in the highest position, which I always have it there when I'm servicing anyway. It literally, all I did, finger and thumb, pinch the front and just lift it out towards me. So it really isn't difficult to take out at all on there. Then, to be fair, not bad. Bit of fluff, but not bad. So for myself, what I'm going to do, let's that's actually quite good. This is not what I would normally use, but a sort of tool, but I'm just going to show you on that, because a lot of people,
what about a paintbrush or something?
that's what I'm going to do afterwards, but I'm just so I can just show sort of the people exactly where the build
bobbin,
up
you've got my bobbin,
so,
my bodkin rather,
because a lot of time people will then clean out on the top, but what they don't realise is actually under the rim here you do get a build up of fluff as well. And then because of where it is, obviously that, if I write my finger around there now I've just moved the fluff a bit more, as we can see there's actually quite a lot of dirt on there.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Fluff.
It's not as clean as before.
So sometimes to get under the ridge and that, so I only use that just to show you where it is on that point.
Would Myra's pipe cleaner work around there?
Yep, pipe cleaner ideal for that. No problems at all. What I would recommend with the pipe cleaner, obviously don't use the ends, bend it. So you've got a tight little U, so it actually collects it on the way around as well. So then I say personally, if you want to take this one stage further, and it's something I have told customers to do, I would not recommend it otherwise, because knowing again it's not connected to anything. And if you feel you've got a lot of fluff in there, or you're just doing a little bit that, hang on, I can do a little bit more myself and I haven't got to worry, and also not to worry that it's not connected to anything, is take the bottom plate off. So I'm just going to put the lid on that, because what I can do, so I'm just going to lay it back and we can see underneath the machine, and we can get underneath there. So yeah, it's these two screws here, this one and then this one. Those are two I want to remove.
Right, okay.
So again, get my little T-driver. As you've noticed, obviously I've held the machine, it was beeping at me because it keeps telling me no, I'm not going to do it, so it's a safety feature again, even though obviously I'm touching it. So one.
And you would turn yours off, Gary's doing it so it's got a bit of light.
Two on there. So once that's done, again I just drop those two screws out. They are quite different. These have got little rounded ends to the flat ends, so if you want to put them in separate places to keep them separate, but other than that they are very different screws, so I can just put them in the same hole, in the same container.
Yeah, Myra's like, yay, I bend the pipe cleaner. Yeah, you're getting gold stars today.
Wonderful, wonderful. So now I've just done those two screws. Again, all that does is drop off on there. And then, got to say, very clean underneath, so it's good that way. But if I show this piece here, what happens, you will generally find there's lots of fluff. And the more fluff on here, you know there's more fluff that's been pushed down into your machine.
Yeah.
So the good thing about that, by taking this off now, what I can do, sit my machine back up. In the workshops we have a little air compressor, so I can just blow the fluff, because you know then by doing that the fluff is going to blow straight out the bottom.
Yeah, perfect.
So cool. Also buy a pump, just a manual pump, so like things like blowing what we blow balloons up with.
Yeah,
that will put enough pressure in it, we can blow it through on there. Or obviously now you can get the air canisters, so for computer cleaning and things like that. Get in there, but once the bottom's off, you know it can only go one way then. And then also a recommendation, when you're doing that, make sure you're blowing then from right to left, because that's taking it away from the machine.
Yes.
Obviously, if you're blowing it that way, you're going into the machine. I know it sounds those simple things, but again, we do like to point those out. So on that, so blow it out, get rid of all the excess fluff, and then what I do at this point personally is get some kitchen roll. I don't know. Have we got a piece of? I can use a piece of fabric. That's. Go on, that's a bit of calico again. So useful, calico.
It really is.
Right, so just say a bit of kitchen roll or something like that on there. What you don't want, whatever you're using, you don't want this to fall apart, because you don't want it to fall apart obviously in your machine. Yeah. So what I do now, so even though you've brushed the fluff out, you think, okay, is that clean? And looking through, give it a little brush out. I'm going to take the fluff out there, but if I get sort of a white piece of tissue or calico, and if I actually wipe that round, when I'm doing this, there's one thing I will always point out to you. This is where the hook is in the machine, and that hook is basically an oversized needle. Right. Stab your finger against it. I have done it probably 101 times. Right, if you really have. So just to be careful when you're wiping your finger out, go anti-clockwise, because you're wiping away from the hook. If you go clockwise, you're then going to bang your finger into the hook. So just again a little tip. But it's usually one of those things, is you only do it once or twice and you think, hang on, I don't want to do this again. But if you're going through lots of machines, you might not always think sometimes. So, but even though that now that looked clean in there, if you look on that,
Ew.
how dirty that is.
Yeah.
So even though it looked clean, just by giving that extra wipe, you've picked all that extra lint up on there. So give that a sort of a go round a couple of times, just give it a little wipe on there. And then, even though they say the machine is lubrication free and you don't need to oil the machine, I like to use oil as a cleaner.
There's a little bit in there.
Brilliant.
Just behind that blue lace pouch. But keep going behind, close to the monitor.
Oh, sorry, behind.
Yeah,
So that's not in front of me, is it? That's behind.
There
So then what I do with that, oil can act like a magnet.
Yeah.
And also it gives a sheen to the metal to give it a little bit of a coating. So even though you're not lubricating it, you're just giving it a coating. So all I'm going to do, oil it onto the rag and then use that again to wipe it round. And then even though I've wiped it once, now I've just done that again.
Come on, shame us.
It's actually, because it's not too bad, but you can see it's still got the last of that dirt and fluff off.
Amazing.
So if you're going to take your machine apart, spend a couple of extra minutes just to give it a little bit of a process. And then now that's absolutely immaculate. I'm going to take the bobbin case, because obviously this will get fluff on it as well. I'm going to use again just with the bit with oil on and just give it a wipe, just to get any excess fluff off. So the oil will act like a magnet just to get in there. And then visually I'm going to check to make sure there's no fluff or thread caught in that rim. That's your tension system. So if you've got anything lodged in there, obviously it can affect your tension. Very rarely that happens, but it can happen. So once I've checked that, I'm happy. So making sure your needle and your needle position is still in the high position, then it's going to be as easy as what we did taking it out. Finger and thumb, relocate, and then that will literally just drop back into the machine. So very, very simple, in and out on there. Before I put the needle plate on, if I want to double check to make sure, I little notch against the spring and that is lined up, and I should be able to just twist the bobbin case or move it from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
And as long as I can do that, I know it's not caught, it's not lodged, and I've got it in correctly. That way, once that's done, pop the bobbin case back in. Actually, sorry, one other thing I will really point out, because it's something I do notice it can get missed occasionally, but this is clean. You've got your feed dog, which is your teeth on here.
Yeah.
And you've got the gaps in between your teeth. So what happens if you get a build up of fluff in those gaps in there? So that will naturally push the needle plate up slightly. And obviously if your needle plate rises, you've got less grip on your teeth. So sometimes when they say, oh, the teeth are not always gripping and not all feeding, a place to check is to make sure in between the rows of teeth you haven't like accidentally built up a felt layer of fluff.
Okay, right,
because obviously
yeah.
the more fluff there is, the more felt it is, the tougher it's going to be, and the more it's going to raise the needle plate.
Of course.
So yeah, when you're cleaning, just that little tip, very sort of, it doesn't happen too often, but just check between the rows of teeth to make sure there's no fluff build up in there. Once you've cleaned that, needle plate goes back on and it just locates back in again. We've got the two flat screws which will then hold the needle plate in. Again, you will notice a flat surface because obviously when they're locked down into position they will sit perfectly flat, because obviously you don't need it bulbous at all that way. And if you notice what I did there, it wasn't quite sitting flat. I just literally twisted the hand wheel towards me, back again, and it just relocated because there's little springs underneath there just to make sure it sits correctly. And then once that's done, give it a tweak. Yes, finger tighten again, just on there. Another little quarter of a turn, job done. So that's tight enough. And then go lean it back. The bottom goes back on again, so again not connected to anything, it literally just sit on like so. Take the first screw.
So it is really realistically a 10-15 minute job.
It is, yeah. And while doing that, hopefully I've shown people there's nothing to really worry about. I'm not unplugging nothing, I'm not specifically having to line this up.
There is fear, especially when you spend a lot of money on your machine. You don't want to unplug the, and I know there are a lot of helpful husbands and other halves that were like, oh, don't worry, I'll just do, and that scares me. But actually, there's not much they can do wrong here, is there?
No. Well, to be fair, as long as they don't take any more apart than that,
Right.
But once they start adjusting, if they sort, oh, there's something there, I can move there. Yeah, no. Because obviously the timings on the hook, the timings of the needle stroke, the timings of the feed, everything is all set. So, the last thing you want to do is start loosening springs or anything like that. so again, then just the underneath. There and there, so finger tight, and again a little tweak. That's that one there, little tweak, and there you have one cleaned out machine.
Perfect.
Absolutely brilliant. And then one step further, if you really wanted to, again it's not connected to, because again fluff build up and things like that, this little screw in here, it is one of those things, this again it's not connected to anything, but it is just a little bit more fiddly, but when you feel you've got no top tension, or you've got big looping underneath, is not the bobbin. Looping underneath is to do with the top tension. Right. So a lot of people think as soon as it starts going wrong underneath, they automatically start looking at the bobbin, but straight away you are generally looking at the wrong tensioning system. And then what happens again is it's mainly caused even if you are using more cheaper threads,
right,
where it's bringing the fluff into this first area,
right.
So you end up with a build up of fluff. So what we've done on here is a single screw on that one. It's actually a bit more fiddly with this one, because they haven't sort of over designed this to do it at home yourself, but it's
only if you know
something you need a little bit of confidence. But also everything I've just shown you here, or plus a bit more, obviously never hesitate if you wanted to give it a go and you're really not sure, and you sort of like someone sort of next to you as such to say, like I said before, give us a ring and just sit in front of your machine. We can chat you through it, we can FaceTime you through it as well. So as you're doing things, we can watch you, and if you're comfortable, then next time it shouldn't be a problem on there. So let's just this one definitely easy with another little screwdriver actually. We got a,
I don't know if I have in here. Nearly there.
Couple more turns. Oh, there we go. So with that, so I've loosened the screw off, so I'll put my thumb in the screw hole. I'm going to grab sort of the back of it. I'm not going to pull it or wrench it there, and literally just tip it towards me.
Oh wow, okay.
It's because these little clips,
down a bit,
sorry, these little clips there, if you pull it up or down, it will break these little clips.
Right.
And that's why when you're putting it back in at the front and lay it down, when you're taking it out, lift it at the back and then pull it forward. So it is quite simple, but as long as you've got the angle there. Right, so then this is now exposed, the top tension. And this is something I am sort of quite proud of on this as well. As you can see, it is fully mechanical. All of these spring systems, that it's all metal as well. So again, this was what gives it that constant continuity. Why it doesn't change tensions, it's halfway through a job and things like that. But the lovely thing I can also report on here, it's immaculate inside there. So but what can happen is around here as the thread feeds up, if you've got fluffy threads and you get fluff build up around here, obviously eventually that's going to affect your tension for no fault of its own. So if you feel there's something not right in there, or you just feel you can see bits of thread or fluff, never hesitate, take it off, give it a little brush out on there, and then to pop it back on again, it's a front down first, and then just lay it down so that clip just sits under, and then just tighten the screw back up.
Amazing. Gary, thank you so much.
My pleasure, absolutely my pleasure. It's always fun, it's just great being here. So
it's so lovely to have you, and thank you so much for coming back so quickly as well, because we only had you last here in January, but we wanted to do shows that weren't too far apart for anybody looking at
But also, we needed your second instalment on the
absolutely.
UX8. We needed that.
And that's the thing. So whether you're looking for something big like the UX, whether you're looking for something smaller, portable, but still with that build quality, and if you're wanting, well, it's nearly £200 off because it's a refurb that's had less than 2 hours worth of use time.
Display time more than
Yeah,
anything. Yeah.
Absolutely. Then we've got, like I say, we've got 3 machines. That is it. These are very, very rare.
Yeah.
They do not come up very often at all. No. So we're very lucky to have them. So if you are considering and you want that extra money off, then, you know,
well worth,
they
say,
well
worth.
Absolutely.
The nice thing, hopefully, obviously, we've been here and over that, but the people at home, right from the Exceeds, the different types of DXs, the G series as well, they have all got that same sewing system, that performance. So again, the continuity of quality across their range, people just really appreciating that level. So even if you feel you don't want all the stitches and that, which a lot of people don't necessarily want on there, and you start with a machine you really enjoy, it's going to then turn up jeans, it's going to do soft furnishings, it's going to allow you the quilting, it will hopefully encourage you then to do more, expand more, which will then give you more to play with. So
perfect. Oh, thank you, Gary.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much.
You.
I have to tell you that it is Big Back Wednesday in the CAF.
Ooh.
Yeah, where we get an entire roast in it in a bap. So that's where I'm taking you now.
Absolutely. You give me beef and gravy in a bat, I am the happiest man alive.
I think it's pork today and stuff.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, that's
all right. Absolutely fine. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, let's go and do that. Guys, thank you so much for bearing with us and watching. And I know that you'll watch this show back as and when and as much as you need to see and bits that you want to see. But do take a look at all of it. And we will see you next Monday. I won't. Gemma's taking over. She's nodding and laughing, which fills me with a small amount of fear. She says she'll have something fabulous. I think it might be knitting related as well. Yeah. Possibly.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So we're going to do knitting related. Then I said eventually we do a cut and sew on the overlocker then at one point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bring more of the overlocker into it.
Oh, brilliant. We need to do an overlocker show. We haven't done one for ages.
No, we haven't. No. So definitely next play day we can have an overlock play day.
Perfect.
Sounds good to me.
Gary, thank you so much. Big
thank you very much again for getting me back.
Guys, take care. Stay safe. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah. Brilliant.